mi micrófono de nuevo, no lo limpiaron, están todos mis escupitajos aquí. Espero que estén muy bien, muy buenos días. Es muy temprano, todavía son las 5:30, así que estoy absolutamente despertando a mi mujer, pero ella quería vivir aquí y esta es la casa que le gustó y esta es la casa que tiene el cuarto junto a la oficina, así que se la pela con todo el amor que le tengo a mi amada mujer. Bienvenidos al Casino del Tío Salo. Por supuesto que el día de hoy le vamos a dar con absolutamente Toño de Valdés. Estamos empezando un poco antes porque Alex y Farhan están en Dubái y necesitamos un poco más de tiempo para poder hacer las 4 horas o mínimo lo más cerca a las 4 horas de analizar todos los mercados con ustedes. Pero antes quiero platicar con ustedes de algo muy importante. Bueno, para empezar, quiero decir dos cosas. Estoy viendo que Luisito se volvió estoy seguro todo el mundo de Latinoamérica sabe quién es Luisito. Luisito Comunica. Luisito está como en Twitter, está flotando por ahí en todos lados porque fue a Cuba y está saliendo los videos de Luisito, ¿no? Donde tiene que ser muy buen pedo con todos y siempre decirles todo tranquilo. Ahí les va, como debería decirlo Luisito, ¿no? Honestamente. Y aún eso de crack lo que hace ese cabrón. Sacó videos de Cuba y está todo el mundo volviéndose loco porque no pueden creer lo mierda que es Cuba. Güey, hay gente que prefirió subirse un barquito en un mar lleno de tiburones, enorme, donde te puedes morir por X, Y o Z. Y un barquito, no estamos hablando de que un yate o así para irte de Cuba. Y prefieren hacer eso que quedarse en la isla. ¿Cómo es que la gente no sabe que Cuba es una mierda? ¿Por qué esto es noticia? Solamente, si alguien me puede ayudar, por favor, explicarme por qué esto es noticia, se los agradecería de corazón. De verdad, necesito entender esto. Eso es la primera cosa. La segunda, ya entendimos qué fue lo de qué causó el apagón en España. Fue simplemente la estupidez de todo el cambio energético que están haciendo, la mala transición. Había varios expertos que ya habían dicho que van a tener un apagón gigantesco y lo tuvieron. Era tal cual. Ahí lo tienen, no hay ciberataques ni nada. Ahora, si usan esto para meterles miedo para el futuro, que va junto con lo del kit y todo eso, atentos, ¿ok? Solamente quería decir esas dos cosas porque platicamos de ellas y pues quiero saber, bueno, la de Cuba quiero saber, por qué la gente se está enterando ahorita que Cuba es una mierda. No entiendo. Ok, en fin, quiero platicar con ustedes de algo muy importante y esto es algo que a mucha gente le rompe los huevos cuando lo decimos, bueno, cuando lo digo todavía, pero cuando empecé a decirlo en línea, honestamente me censuré un poco. Me preguntaban, y ustedes, los que llevan un rato acá viéndome, saben perfectamente cuál es mi opinión en ello y quiero saber cuál es la suya. ¿Ustedes creen en el 2025 que deberían de ir a la universidad? ¿Sí o no y por qué? Es lo que les quiero preguntar en este momento, ¿ok? Y ahora, personalmente, y las referencias que les voy a dar en este momento, tienen que ver con Estados Unidos. No puedo hablar por otros países en desarrollo porque no entiendo el nivel, la rapidez con la que se van a adaptar o no. Y no entiendo cuál va a ser la dinámica entre los países grandes que proveen inteligencia artificial, servicios de inteligencia artificial y los chicos. Todavía no lo sé, todavía no lo entiendo. Entonces solamente estoy hablando de Estados Unidos, ¿ok? Pero mucha gente me escribe y me dice, güey, necesito dinero para acabar mi semestre, no sé qué, y préstame, ya le debo a todo el mundo, no me alcanza, préstame para ir, por favor, sponsoreame la beca, págame la escuela. Güey, sin uno, no tienes para ir a la escuela, no entiendo por qué tienes que ir a la escuela, ¿ok? Eso es algo que te están diciendo en tu casa, ¿ok? ¿Por qué te pondrías en deuda? Y piensa en esto, te meterías a YouTube a aprender algo y si el curso de YouTube costara $50,000 al año y tienes que meterte en una deuda severa, ¿lo comprarías? Todo el mundo va a decir que no. Entonces, ¿por qué en la escuela sí cuando tienes libros más viejos y que todavía tardan mucho más en actualizarse y todo eso? ¿Ok? Voy a decirles la realidad de esto. Estamos a punto de completamente cagarnos en el sistema de educación en Estados Unidos. Estamos a punto de cambiarlo por completo y la gente no lo quiere admitir todavía, pero uno, es un sistema fallido de educación, no es un sistema de educación sano, es una educación mierdísima en Estados Unidos y sobre todo las universidades. Vamos ya a hablar de las universidades. Las universidades son un gran negocio, no pagan impuestos la gran mayoría y también no solamente no pagan impuestos, han tenido atletas y deportes universitarios que se meten una lana brutal entre videojuegos, entre entradas, admisión, todo lo que se imaginen, ¿ok? Eso es el negocio de las universidades en Estados Unidos. En Estados Unidos la educación fue tomada por el gobierno hace bastantes años y el gobierno la tomó Y lo que dijo fue bajo la excusa de, queremos que todo el mundo esté educado, entonces le vamos a dar un préstamo a quien quiera. Y ese préstamo es un préstamo que nunca, el único en toda la historia que no puedes borrar. Puedes declarar bancarrota, puedes morirte y volver a resucitar y tienes que pagar ese puto préstamo. No hay ningún otro préstamo como este. Si debes en una casa, declaras bancarrota, se acabó. Debes en tu negocio, declaras bancarrota, se acabó. Le debes al banco directamente, declaras bancarrota y se acabó. Le debes a la escuela, eso es de por vida, hijo de puta. Ahora, bajo esa banderita de les vamos a ayudar a todos, fue para poder cogerse a todos y volverlos un cliente más. El cliente más en Estados Unidos es la deuda y es donde los metimos. Eh, y desde entonces han estado empujando la narrativa de, güey, tienes que ir a la universidad, tienes que ir a la universidad para pegarle, etcétera. Y ahorita ya están saliendo Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, todos los meros que antes decían. Bill Gates antes decía, yo voy a contratar a alguien que salga de la universidad. Y ahora está diciendo, no sirven de nada los títulos de universidad. Nos están preparando para esto. Y tienen toda la razón del mundo. Es un desperdicio gigantesco de dinero, en mi opinión, a menos de que vayas a algo súper especializado. Y aún así quiero hacerte esta pregunta. ¿Tú crees, con todos los avances que estás viendo en inteligencia artificial y todo, que ahorita vas a escoger una carrera? Hoy, 2025, vas a empezar, digamos, el 2026, porque ahorita estás viendo esto y estamos ya en abril, ¿no? Digamos que empiezas 2026, tu ciclo escolar. Tienes 4 años. Eso quiere decir que para el 2030 te vas a graduar. ¿Va a haber un agente de inteligencia artificial o algún robot que pueda hacer tu trabajo? ¿Va a cambiar ese sector? ¿Sí o no? Nadie sabe. La respuesta es sí. Los agentes de inteligencia, si te pones a escuchar a Mark Zuckerberg, a Jeff Bezos, a Elon Musk, a todo el mundo hablando en podcast y todas estas cosas, puedes entender perfectamente que estamos moviéndonos a otra realidad por completo y que todos estos tíos de verdad creen que agentes de inteligencia artificial para de aquí a un año van a poder programar lo que sea. Y un agente de inteligencia artificial, para todos los que no sepan, es si ahorita te metes a ChatGPT o a Grok y le dices, güey, ¿cómo hago un sitio web que haga todo esto? Te va a dar paso a paso cómo hacerlo. Un agente de inteligencia artificial le vas a decir eso y lo va a crear él mismo. Todo el proceso. Y todo esto va a traducirse a robótica después, que es lo que se va a llevar los trabajos de bajos ingresos. Pero al principio, contaduría, ser abogado, ¿qué más? Básicamente, hasta doctores, ahora a inteligencia artificial te está diagnosticando y viendo tus análisis de sangre mucho mejor. Entonces, no tiene tanto sentido en este momento enfocarte y decir, güey, voy a gastarme $200,000 en ir a buscar un título que literalmente no va a funcionar para nada. Ahora, ¿te quieres gastar los $200,000 por la experiencia, ir a la escuela, ir a una fraternidad, lamerle la panuca sucia a 1,300 mujeres en lo que lo estás haciendo? Bien, ve y desperdicia tu dinero, pero lo sabes, ¿ok? Siempre para mí quiero saber a lo que me estoy metiendo, ¿ok? Eso es lo más importante, porque si no, nunca acabo contento, etcétera. Y yo creo que es muy importante eso. Entonces, simplemente quiero poner esto enfrente de todos. Tal vez, y esto es algo porque yo sé que les ponen mucha presión sus padres. Yo sé que les dicen sus papás, no vas a hacer nada si no vas a la universidad. Yo sé que tus padres se están obligando porque ellos son los que manejan la lana y así es como funciona el mundo. Pero pregúntales, ¿no existe una posibilidad de que me voy a dedicar por 4 años a aprender algo que va a ser completamente irrelevante? Y van a decir, entonces, ¿qué debería hacer? Trabajar. Este es tu momento donde puedes empezar a ganar dinero, guardarlo, porque todavía vives con tus padres. Guarda y vamos a ver qué pasa, porque no tenemos idea de qué tan invasivo vaya a ser este takeover de todas las máquinas de inteligencia artificial. No lo entendemos. Y una vez más, todos les venden no, todo va a estar de huevos, no sé qué, pero cuando los escuchas hablar, no va a estar de huevos. Están emocionados ellos porque imagínate esto, imagínate ser Meta, o imagínate ser Elon Musk con XAI, o imagínate ser Sam Altman con esto. En este momento, si quieren todo el mundo contratar un trabajador, ellos no tienen parte en el proceso, a menos de que dentro de su plataforma, como en X, puedes encontrar como trabajos abiertos. Pero ahora piensen en esto. Estos hijos de puta van a crear trabajadores digitales. Imagínate poder crecer bebés. Van a crear trabajadores digitales y rentarlos o venderlos a la sociedad. Ellos van a ser dueños de toda la fuerza de trabajo digital. ¿Entienden eso? Estamos comprendiendo esto. Es como clonar humanos y ponerlos en un campo a trabajar. Estos güeyes van a poder clonar este tipo de inteligencia artificial. De Alejandro, ¿quieres un programador? Toma, padre, $20,000 este año y es lo que te va a costar, $20,000. Y un programador no puede comer por $20,000. Y el programador que me va a dar Meta o que me va a dar X o que me va a dar todas estas empresas va a ser mucho mejor que cualquier programador que vaya a encontrar. Un saludo, Bruno. Es solamente un ejemplo. Pero entienden el problema. Entonces, ¿por qué vamos a ir a la escuela? ¿Para que estas chingaderas vengan y nos quiten? No, vamos a ahorrar dinero de una vez, empezar a entender cómo trabajar y también entender que el sistema educativo en Estados Unidos es una cagada, donde la gente que va a la universidad literalmente no aprende nada, nada. Y cuando sales de ahí, güey, piensa en esto. Vas al aeropuerto y dices 99% de las personas son pendejas. Vas a una panadería y el 99% del staff parece ser retrasado mental. ¿Tú crees que los doctores por alguna razón son más inteligentes que todas las demás? 99% de los doctores son retrasados mentales haciéndolo. Nadie ha aprendido nada. Hay muy pocos que son potentes y grandes. Y esto aplica en todas las industrias. No te están preparando para ser el top. Eso está en ti. Entonces, ¿quieres ser un top en algo? Ve y hazlo. Pero a menos de que quieras ser el 1% de los mejores, mejores, mejores en tu campo, y además no sabes si tu campo va a existir. Ahí lo tienen. Vámonos en este momento a analizar el mercado. Quiero que me digan, ok, se van a enojar muchísimos, me van a escribir, salgo en diferentes cosas, disfrútenlo. Vamos a empezar con esto. Para todo el mundo, por cierto, se quieren unir a nuestro Discord, ya saben que es absolutamente gratis. Cáiganle por acá, aquí tienen el Discord de Elite Trading Academy, lo pueden ver, sí lo pueden ver, no, sí, tranquilos. Aquí está en la descripción de abajo, ahorita se los pongo en X como siempre. Acá tenemos los análisis de Alex, los análisis de Farhan, tenemos el chat general acá para que vengan a platicar con todos, por supuesto. Aquí está Spider-Man y aquí está Spider-Man encontrándose también. Tenemos Criptolingo, por supuesto, muy famoso, de lo que estamos hablando acá, por si hay algo que no entiendan, aquí lo tenemos. Y todo esto es gratis. Vengan a compartir cuánta lana están haciendo en este mercado tan aburrido, honestamente. Vamos a ver qué es lo que está pasando en este mercado tan aburrido. Güey, ¿cómo hiciste 147% en este? Ah, eres un degenerado. Buena entrada en ese long. Bien hecho, bien hecho. 2,47%. No, Tomatito, Tomatito, a ti te veo buenas rachas, ¿eh? Andas enrachado, cabrón. Vientos, me da gusto, cabrones. Aquí estamos. Todos los enlaces que necesites también los tienes acá. Y si quieres tradear futuros con nosotros, bastante sencillo. Cáele a nuestro sitio en el Trading Academy. Gratis, absolutamente gratis, como diría Donald Trump. Vamos a Tutos. Te vas a meter en tutos en cómo tradear en Bluffing y esto te va a enseñar cómo fondear tu cuenta, cómo usar el exchange, cómo poner un long, un short acá en futuros. Acá lo tienen todo en un video de 5 minutos absolutamente gratis para todos y tienen el enlace directo. Y ahora quieren tradear también acciones tokenizadas. Tenemos el enlace aquí abajo en BTCC y funciona igualito que esto. Si ves este video vas a entender cómo hacerlo en BTCC también. Así que ahí lo tienen. Aquí estamos en el Trading Academy para lo que necesiten. Vamos a empezar como de que no, damas y caballeros, vamos a empezar con el análisis del Bitcoin, porque a mí personalmente me interesa saber cómo lo ven estos tíos. Good morning, fellas. Welcome.
Buenos días, muchachos. How you guys doing?
Yo.
My audio is fucked. How are you guys? How's Dubai?
We're in a pretty amazing place at the moment, although it's hot as a motherfucker outside. It's 109 degrees outside right now.
No, I love it. It's
And
just like basically
and you boys,
weather.
yeah.
It's just a dry heat essentially, which is a lot better than like humid in Cancun.
I agree, but I do describe it. It feels like living inside of a hairdryer when you're in Dubai and it's hot. And right now it's not that hot. Like 109, 110 degrees is just like this is April, dude. Just wait. Summer is fucking ridiculous in Dubai. But everything happens at night. So that's the fun part of Dubai. Are we ready to take a look at Bitcoins?
Let's do it. I'll share my screen.
Very curious about this coin situation.
Let's talk about the Bitcoin.
Let's put the Bitcoins. There you go.
All right, so the main part of my bias right now is coming from the 2-day. And if you notice, the 2-day is just a ball sack hair away from having an official silver cross to the upside. And this is going to happen within the next close or open, which right now is going to happen right in about 11 hours. This is going to silver cross as long as price is above $88,500. And once this does silver cross, let's look at the last time that we had a silver cross to the upside on a 2-day. This is a very significant thing to happen. Right over here. This was around October of 2024. Price was around the $60,000 area at that point. And over the next this was October, basically 1 month, price went to $100,000. Pretty interesting. Let's find the next silver cross to the upside before there. There was one right over here. Price went up on the cross about 15%. Let's find this one right here. This one was October of 2023. The original, you know what setup. I'll avoid using that word, especially in the Middle
Oh,
East.
I was gonna say, yeah. That's a little touchy right now. It's a little touchy.
57% to the upside, 72% to the upside. Come on. Weird how TradingView sometimes likes to lag out even when your internet connection is fast. Cross right there. And on the low end, we still went up 22%. So let's take it somewhere between 15 to 22% from the cross. And that would be the low end move. Let's assume it crosses somewhere around here. 15% up would bring us to roughly our all-time highs. Very interesting. And then 20% up would bring us slightly to new all-time highs, right around $113,000. But right now in the short term, what usually follows with the silver cross is you get a little bit of a pullback to retest that silver cross. It goes along with this massive hanging man top candle we have right here, and closing over the 38.2%, coming back to retest this 38.2%. You know what level that comes down to? Basically perfectly down to the 9 EMA to come and retest this beautiful silver cross we have right here. That would bring us down on price somewhere around $91,000 to $90,000, giving us, in my opinion, the ultimate long entry for this coming silver cross, which should like upon cross, should take us well over $100,000. I myself am going to balls deep long this $91,000 area. That's why I have my alert right here from 91.8. So my phone will alert me to place a massive long in this area. I might even just preset the order, to be honest. And if you go to our momentum is very close to shifting back up, back into the bullish control zone, while volatility is going to shift up into a expansion phase if we can get a bounce in that area as well. As of right now, they are shifted down because we are still looking for a move down towards this 38.2% in 9 EMA, but from there, it likely will shift back into the bullish control zone with volatility support. And if we look at our 2-day jewel, we're getting the pink crossing above the yellow, light blue about to cross into the bullish critical zone. It's marked with the vertical line where we had the pink crossing above the yellow. And oh shit, that's not the vertical line. And let's do it whenever we had the pink crossing above, below the bullish control zone. This is very close to the bullish control zone, so I'm not going to count it. This is also in the bullish control zone. This one's more relevant. And do we have any more? Let's take this one, last one. I was just thinking it would be very, very badass to meet CZ. 7.5%.
Is he gonna be there?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Tell him just to tell you what's gonna happen. He knows.
Sir,
Like,
up or down?
yeah, exactly. And then you fucking hit me up instantly. And that's not insider trading. It's different, guys, for anyone listening.
Yeah, it's not.
It's different.
It's not at all.
This doesn't fall under the Pelosi Act.
It was so fucking hilarious how they called it the Pelosi Act. Hey, you know, to be honest, if I was her, I wouldn't be offended. I'd be like, hey, my name's going down in history.
I know. And it's not like anything's gonna happen to her. She's one of the most powerful people on earth.
So about 11%, then 30%, then 41%, then 66%, then 82%. That one was quite a powerful one. Likely not going to get one of those. Or maybe we will. Maybe we go to $200,000. Maybe George is right.
Guys, I
Maybe
told you
Kathy
about
Wood
the
is right.
tailwinds. I see
Maybe
you now.
maybe we
Doing the
go to
tailwinds.
$11 million by end of year. Maybe Kathy Wood is right.
Maybe. By the way, I started listening yesterday. I was listening to a few finance podcasts. We're already getting $280,000 targets, 200,000, 200, 220. Yeah.
Can
It's
these
everywhere.
guys please wait until Bitcoin at least gets back over 100,000 again?
Nope. They're already in it, and they're saying the worst is already over, and we're going to $200,000. So I'm ready. I'm ready whenever they want to give me the $200,000.
So we've already done pretty much close to the minimum move, which is around 15%. If we were to take it to about 15%, that brings us roughly around $98,000. If we were to take it the median move of around 50%, that would bring us, gotta zoom out a little bit. We gotta zoom out even more. Brings us to around $128,000. Very, very close to that $130,000 area we had for past couple of months. We take it to around what was it, 70 to 80% on the higher end. That brings us roughly to 145. I believe 160 is going to be 80s. Yeah, 140s to 150s. I personally think if we do go to a new all-time high, it's probably going to top somewhere in the lower end, around 120s. Something like 2021, where we make a slightly new all-time high, and then bear market.
Yeah.
And we go to the monthly right now. Monthly is shaping up to be quite a powerful candle. And this monthly candle closes in 11 hours and 6 minutes. Monthly closing like this is going to be quite fucking bullish. The only thing that would make it even better if we could close slightly higher to close over this $95,150 area. That will make this monthly into a massive bullish engulfing, and we're likely going to have an absolute minimum target of wherever the median is on that open. And as of right now, it does look like the median is going to move up. So that would be bullish if the median moved up. But what will be even more bullish is if the median happens to move down. Because if the median moves down, then we're likely going to start the month with it move down to test into the median. And that likely gives us a very strong spring into the 38.2%. I personally would like to see that happen. I'd like to see the median move down, set max long orders at that median, and then ride it all the way up to 38.2%. And as of right now, 38.2% is at $160,000. So that's quite the ride.
That's a question I had. So because I'm looking at it, I'm also looking at Solana and whatnot on the monthly since it closes today. And right now, the posture of Bitcoin on that HPDR below the median, could it be just like it never went and retapped the median, and now is there a chance it can go to the bottom of the 38.2%? I mean, obviously, it has to break down certain
It has
supports.
to lose. It has to lose this 9, and once it loses that 9, which is around 83.3, loses that on a basically a daily closing basis, and then probably comes down to the bottom.
Got it. Okay, so it's not completely crazy out of the world. Okay,
No,
got it.
it's just a little less likely.
Got it.
And right now on the monthly, you're getting momentum freshly flipping back over the moving average while volatility approaches 0. This is very likely to confirm within the next 11 hours. As long as we close like this, momentum is going to freshly flip back up. The last time we freshly flipped back up was in November, and we went to new all-time highs. Time before there that we freshly flipped back up was in November of 2023, and that's where we went to new all-time highs. Time before there was back in October of 2022. Then when we flipped up, no, we flipped up right here. My bad. This one, November of 2022, and I'm pretty sure that was basically the bottom. Yeah, that was basically the bottom. The move down, yeah, that was the bottom, 15,473. So that literally marked the bottom. Over here, it marked new all-time highs. Over here, it marked new all-time highs. Is it going to mark new all-time highs over here? Maybe, probably, considering how many times it's marked significant moves, either new all-time highs or a macro bottom. And right now, those new all-time highs would be significantly new all-time highs. Why is this dude Enrique calling me?
I don't know,
Right now,
but GDP just came out, and it came out negative, minus 0.3%.
Right now.
And right now,
Yeah.
wow. Are we dumping?
I mean, it doesn't look
On the
like it.
low time frames, I mean, like 1 second chart.
Someone pull out a 1 second chart, please.
Well, yeah, lower time frames were before that. We're just now at support somewhat.
Now you go to the quarterly. Quarterly is now flipping up, getting back over the moving average, while volatility is approaching 0%. A jewel is still giving us a buy signal, and we're getting a strong bounce off of this 5 EMA. As of right now, the quarterly would have a target of the median sitting right around $103,000, which this median has been resistance like this entire way through. Our all-time highs were rejection of the median. The last time that we solidly accepted over the median on a quarterly was basically on our 2021 all-time highs, and even that was kind of a rejection. We just went slightly above. The only comparable move, where if we were to solidly accept over the median, would be in the 2017 rally, where we slightly, just by ball sack here, closed above the median right there, and then from there we pumped another 356%. That's quite a bit. The last time we freshly flipped back up over the moving average on momentum was back in April or July of 2023, whenever we went to new all-time highs. 2 week is now getting out of the bearish control zone and flipping up on momentum. Volatility is still at 0%, or not 0%, approaching 0% on a contraction phase. And now we've reclaimed this bottom 38.2%, which was resistance this previous time around, and it was resistance over here before we nuked. And as long as we're holding this bottom 38.2%, probabilities are greater than not that we're going to go test the median. And as of right now, this median sits at $120,000, which is like 10% off of our current all-time highs, like 10% on top of them. Right now, a counterpoint is that the jewel is giving us a pretty awesome sell signal with the God mode background, but doesn't give you a 100% hit rate. So it is looking like this one is going to fail. And did it really fail considering how much we went down? Let's see how much we went down from that signal. Right about here. Yeah, it's around 21%. I personally wouldn't consider that a failure. Up to you whether what you consider a good enough move or not. I'd be satisfied with a 21% move to the downside if I had shorted based on that signal. The weekly has now closed over the median. This is the first time the weekly has gotten to close over the median after it's been away from it since all-time highs. Whenever we close over it at this point right here in October of 2024. And closing over the median would give us a natural target of hitting the top 38.2%, which right now sits at $106,000. And if you go to $106,000, you're going to take out this last major macro lower high at around $100,000, and you're likely going to new all-time highs from there. Right now, on the weekly, momentum is shifted up, approaching the bullish control zone while volatility contracts. And now the weekly is weekly is giving you a buy signal on the jewel within the bearish control zone. Likely going to send you up to not even probably higher than 38.2%, probably somewhere around the 61.8. And sitting at that very familiar $120,000 area.
I would call that the recession pump.
Yeah, the final hurrah before death. Let's mark these jewel signals in the bearish control zone. Cue elevator music, Jarvis. There we go. Tried that Dubai chocolate. It's pretty fucking good, just not as good as the social media makes it seem to be.
Dubai chocolate. If you get the nice Dubai chocolate, it's really good. But in Switzerland, that's the one. Yet. In Switzerland, that's the one thing that's good in that fucking place. Tell me you guys tried it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Good.
The chocolate was fire.
Okay, good. Fuck. If you guys left that place without that, I'd be very disappointed.
At least there's that. We did try the chocolate, but yeah, that place. If you're not going to
it was expensive as fuck though.
It's just overall just not worth your time. in my opinion.
Yeah,
You're
not at
paying
all.
like $15 for a bar of chocolate.
It's really, really, really expensive. But when I went last time, I was talking to my driver, and I was asking him how much money he was making and whatnot. Dude was getting paid. I was like, damn, that's pretty good. And he goes, not really. Everything is really expensive. I was like, oh, how expensive? And then just by being there, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. It's fucked.
It is. And I will say, though, the nice part is with it being so pricey, the quality is at least nice. Everything was very high quality,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, still.
Mhm.
I would never want to live basically anywhere in Europe,
Yeah, no.
mainly because of Europeans.
No, I like I like Italians, and I like Spanish people. They're very sassy. But I'm also Mexican, so I come from that. But other than that, and also I wouldn't live there. They're pieces of shit places. Like, come on, they just had a power outage in all of the continent, basically.
Yeah, literally.
When you're asking for directions in London and you get stabbed 47 times.
It's just a little London tradition now.
Oh, by the way, it's not called London anymore. It's called Islamabad.
Oh, beautiful.
Let's see how much we're up at this moment. About 12%. If we were to take the minimum move of about 25%, it brings us to roughly $106,000. Does that number ring a bell? It's very familiar. Now I take it to the median move of about 50%, brings us to roughly $128,000. That number is also very familiar. Now, if we take it to the higher end move of about 80%, about $150,000 area, also a very familiar number. 5 days, basically the same setup as the weekly, except it's a little bit more advanced with the jewel signal, or a little bit more progressed. And the 5 days now still giving us a target of that 38.2%, with the 9 now just about a cross over the 21. And that cross should give us a nice little pump scheme, maybe even all the way to 38.2%, right around $103,000. I feel like this next pump is going to solidly take us over 100K. But we're very likely to get a pullback first based on that 2 day. And now daily is also going with the idea of the pullback, where momentum is now shifting down, getting to the reset point while volatility approaching 0%. And now the daily jewels giving us a sell signal. Very likely we're going to come down to this 38.2%, which lines up beautifully with that 91s area. 4 hours also shifting down on momentum while volatility is now expanding to support the move down. And we're just at the bottom of this 38.2%. So if we do lose this 38.2% area, very likely that's going to bring us down to somewhere around this 61.8% to this 55 EMA, right around this $92,000 area. Very likely going to go far. Very likely you're going to get a little bit of a bounce at this $92,000 area, 93, 92s. Probably going to fail, take you up to maybe like mid 93s, but probably going to fail and end up coming down to the 78.6%, which is right around that 91s area. Maybe it'll go a little bit lower to the 100, but that would still be bullish in my opinion if we were to hold anywhere around this $90,000 area. Now let's shift to the RSI. Actually, let's go to the monthly and go to Tether for a second. And now Tether is pretty epic topping candle. We just need to go a little bit lower and it'll make a bearish engulfing, although it doesn't really need to make a bearish engulfing to be a top, because now we have a perfect rejection of this 38.2%. We have rejected the what do you call it? This meme line. We're now below the 21 EMA. We have momentum still in the bearish control zone, very close to once again flipping back down. It's not looking good all around. Quarterly is also putting in a massive top candle. 2-week has already confirmed the top candle. As of right now, the 2-week is just dancing around the median, and we've lost this week low. So just as like the second we lose this median on the 2-week, as of right now, sure, you're going to get a little bit of a bounce off of it, which goes along with the short-term pullback on Bitcoin. But likely somewhere around this 55 EMA is where it rejects, and that's where it rolls over to this bottom 38.2%. And that's where Bitcoin gets its pump to somewhere so over 100K. Right now, 2-week has dropped down on the momentum below the moving average while volatility contracts. Last time we freshly dropped down below the moving average on momentum in this area was right over here in September of 2024, right before we went to new all-time highs of Bitcoin. And we have the jewel just about to start curving over. Right now, the jewel is very close to giving us a buy signal with the pink crossing above the yellow. But if this plays out like what it looks like it's going to happen, that's probably not going to happen with the jewel crossing over the yellow. Weekly has also shifted down on momentum. Volatility is very close to expanding. And we have a jewel sell signal, fresh sell signal. Right now, we are bouncing off this 38.2%. Bounce likely takes us somewhere around this maybe 9 to this 100. Goes along with a pullback on Bitcoin, but this is just going to be a lower high and a rejection. And you're probably going to come down since you basically swept all these lows. Probably going to come test somewhere around these lows here on the 61.8%. Goes along with a nice little pump ski on Bitcoin. And 5 days basically telling us the same thing as the weekly is, not much from there. Now we shift to the RSI. Ding.
Even in Dubai, huh? It works.
Yeah. Traditions never die.
It should have done a traditional Arabic music playing. Remember, like the big song, kind of. Yeah.
Some woman in the background singing.
Maybe not that one. Maybe not that one. That could be bad.
You have a kid, orphan kid, stealing from a village, and some man mumbling in foreign language.
Do you remember we had an episode? We go to Galpin on a vlog, and they show me a clock, and the clock has something to do with prayers for Muslims. So it makes like a song, but we had no idea, and I was just laughing my ass off with Farshad about it, and everyone in the comments, "You fucking dirtbag, disrespecting the Muslim community." I was like, I thought you guys were supposed to be badasses.
Yeah, I give you the pass.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. See, everyone, it only took 7 years, but I got a pass on it. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Just like how your black friend can give you the N-word pass.
Yes, he can. I used to say that with all of them in New York when I first moved there.
I give you the Muslim pass.
Terrible. Thank you, sir.
On the quarterly on Bitcoin, this has been a like very fuckery-induced quarterly RSI for the past couple of months, where it's been giving you the hidden bullish divergence, been taking it away, giving it back to you, and coming so close to invalidating it and putting in bearish divergence, and then at that last moment, just snatching that bearish divergence away from the bear's fingertips. We went all the way down to below the number we needed to confirm that bearish divergence and just solidly bounced right back up. And now we're several $1,000s away from it. And you would have to close below $76,702 to confirm it. We went below that. Now we're like $18,000 above that number now, $19,000 above. And our next target from this area would be the critical zone, but this number is not going to be relevant until this updates because this tells us $526,000. And I'm pretty sure Bitcoin's not going to go to $526,000 this time around. Monthly has that bearish divergence active, although it's very close to invalidating. It will invalidate if you can get a monthly close over $95,150. And if you get that, that's going to give you at a minimum target of this simple moving average, which right now sits at $137,000. Quite high. And that would be off the back of volatility expansion from below 15%, where we're just about to get that expansion. 2 week has now put in fresh drive of hidden bullish divergence, and it will be confirmed as long as you're closing above 74,441, and you have that volatility set up on the 2 week also. Once you get all you really need is any type of closed over 95,871. This is probably going to go to all-time highs. Oh. 3-day currently has active regular bullish divergence, and your next move is into the bullish control zone, which right now sits at about, where is it? $96,000, not much higher. Two-day has 3 drives of bullish divergence. Very likely gets a move into the edge of the bullish control zone for a little bit of a bounce, which right now lines up my bias at around $90,800, and then probably gets a move into the critical zone, which is going to update, but right now it sits at $162,000. Also fits my bias. Oh, 4 hours about to put in a fresh drive of bearish divergence, goes along with the idea of a short-term pullback, and it will confirm as long as you close below $94,662. And that will give you a target of this 55 EMA right around 93 for a little bit of that bounce. Same idea as before, and then eventually to this 100, which is going to rise. Probably going to be somewhere around $91,000, maybe a little bit below it. Now let's shift back to Tether. Let's switch gears for a second, fellas.
Oh, nice. Very nice, sir.
All right, so on the quarterly, we have still confirmed 3 drives of bearish divergence on Tether, which came very close to invalidating when we went above this high here. But then it just went psych, took it out of the bear's fingertips and shoved it back down. And this bearish divergence is still active, and our next target is going to be the neutral zone, which right now sits at about 3.58%. Quite the dumpski on Tether. That would be like 30% down. That's at least 60% up on Bitcoin. 50 to 60% up. That brings
All right,
us
calm
right to
down,
150.
George.
That
Calm
brings us
down,
right to
George.
150s to 160s.
Kathy, are you there? Kathy, stop hiding. Are you behind Farhan?
Hey,
I can see
you
his
gotta
screen.
you gotta add another zero to be Kathy.
Oh, yeah. By the way, what a job being Kathy Wood. It's like the market's tanking. Quick, bring out Kathy. Kathy, where do you think Tesla stock is going to go? It's at $101. Oh, well,
17
according to our
million.
research and our different methods of investigating everything and analytics, we can confidently say that by the end of the year, which is in exactly 2 hours and 39 minutes, Tesla will be at $3 trillion per share. And everyone's like, yeah,
Oh, beautiful.
Kathy, thank you. And then she goes back into the asylum or wherever the fuck they keep her because there's no way she's free.
Hey, it must be nice to be Kathy Wood, just like Jim Cramer. You get paid millions of dollars a year just to be wrong.
Well, no, to fuck other people up because you're getting paid to sponsor, like you're getting sponsored to make people your exit liquidity.
And if you make decisions based on what Kathy Wood says, then you deserve to have that money in the first place. Let's see. 2 week is still has bullish divergence active on Tether, although it's very close to invalidating. Any close below 4.94%, and that will invalidate, and then you're gonna get a dumpski from there. Weekly has now confirmed the bearish divergence, which makes it a lot more likely the 2 week is gonna invalidate. And right now that bearish divergence is gonna be active as long as you're closing below 5.62%. And your next target right now is this neutral zone, which right now sits at about 4.04%. 2 day has 3 drives of bearish divergence active. You're getting a little bit of a bounce to the edge of the bearish control zone, which is to be expected. Your next move is going to be at the critical zone after that bounce fails, which right now is at 3.3%. Lines up with the idea of a short-term bounce on Tether, short-term pullback on Bitcoin, is we're about to put in a fresh drive of hidden bullish divergence on the 4 hour. And this will confirm as long as you close above, let's see, zoom out a little bit, about 5.11%. And that will give us a minimum move of somewhere around this 100 EMA, about 5.2%, likely rejects this area and pulls back, which gives you that short-term move down on Bitcoin. Oh, the wrong one. This one. I have weird names for my charts and I just never change them. So now only I remember which ones are.
I also do a lot of stuff like that in my computer, like something that's been there for years that has other names and whatnot. You're like, I don't fucking care. I'm not gonna update it. I already know what it is.
I don't care enough to update, and then I'd have to remember a new thing.
Exactly.
Is that what it's like to be old?
That is what it's like to be old, sir. Welcome.
On the quarterly, we have momentum once again taken out of the Bears' hands, back in the Bulls' favor, where we are pointed up, and we are going to be pointed up on the quarterly as long as we're above 92,000. Let's say $93,000. Monthly is going to be pointed down, and we still have contracting volatility, so it's not that bad just yet. and we are about to test the edge of the critical zone, which right now this number is going to update in about 10.5 hours. What we want to see is what this pivot goes to at that point. If it still remains at $106,000, that's quite bearish. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this pivot is going to change. Well, and likely it's going to come to somewhere around where price is now. Ideally, for the bull stake, it'll drop below price and then probably get an omega pump to make. If it stays at $106,000, very worrying. Basically, what happened on the 2 week is what I'm looking for on the monthly. But the 2 week pivot was also in the hundreds, and it dropped down significantly. Right now, the 2 week pivot, which is going to close in about 11 days, doesn't close this today like the monthly does, but that one will flip up and at the edge of the bullish control zone, and it will flip up if you close above basically $100,000. And we made a slightly lower low than this low on momentum here, but making a significantly higher low, giving you a hidden bullish divergence as well. And that will likely take you to new all-time highs. Weekly is already flipped up and with a derp of life, and it would be flipped up as long as you're above 80,700. 5-day is also flipped up with a derp of life and flipped up above 79,350. Now let's shift to Tether. Tether is currently flipped up on the monthly, and it will remain to the upside above 4.11%. This is going to close in 10 hours and 42 minutes. You're about to approach the edge of the bearish control zone. This is where the pivot likely goes up. Just like Bitcoin is in the area where the pivot likely goes down, Tether is in the area where the pivot likely goes up. And if this pivot remains below where price is, then you're likely to not get that move up on Bitcoin, and you're probably going to dump. And this is likely going to pump. But although what I'm thinking is going to happen is that this pivot's going to go up, and Bitcoin's pivot is going to go down. Well, we won't know until it happens, though, so we can come back and check in 10 hours and 40 minutes. 2 week is already starting to flip, getting to the area where it'll flip down right at the edge of the bullish control zone. The pivot is around 4.49%. This one is not really going to matter as much as the monthly because this one doesn't close until 11 days. So if the monthly does go up on the pivot, then this likely flips down. Weekly is already flipped down, rejecting the critical zone, and it would be flipped down below 5.77%. And 5-day is also flipped down below 5.9%. 2-day is also flipped down below 5.43%. And daily is now starting to flip up, giving the same idea of that short-term pullback on Bitcoin, short-term bounce on Tether, and it will flip up, remain up as long as you're above 4.99%, so 5%. And if you notice on the daily, we're just about to get a silver cross to the downside on Tether. It's going to happen on this daily close as long as it's below 5.22%. Very, very likely that happens. That move up will just be a retest of this silver cross and then dump into this 200. Shift over to we can go back to Bitcoin. All right, now in 5 days flipped up with that derp of life, very close to getting volatility expansion, although it's not going to be a similar setup as one of these because it didn't drop below the 15%, although it still will give you a significant move to the upside with 5-day volatility supporting the move to the momentum up. 2 days getting momentum up, although it's getting to very extreme areas in the critical zone, along with volatility, and it will be pointed up above 90,100. And daily is now starting to flip down with volatility contraction, goes along with the idea of a short-term pullback, and it will remain to the downside below $95,000. And 4 hours now flipping down, but very close to getting a volatility support to the downside. You got a derp of death, and you're pointed down below $95,300. So right now in Bitcoin, all of the high time frames are still aligning back into the bullish posturing. It did look like for a while that this quarterly was going to invalidate the bullish divergence and put in some bearish divergence, although it didn't do it. It remained momentum to the upside, but with volatility expansion, you're getting a strong bounce off of that quarterly 5 EMA and the monthly 9. And as long as you're over those areas, you still have to look for upside based off of the previous trend. Whenever we were in a bull market versus bear market, you're putting hidden bullish divergence on the 2 week. It's starting to look very good across the board. Although on the short-term time frames, you are getting momentum shifting to the downside, whereas Tether is shifting up. And it does look like you're going to get a short-term move down on Bitcoin to somewhere around that $91,000 area to 90,500. That area very likely does hold, and you likely bounce from there over $100,000. Invalidation for all of this is any daily close basically below $90,000, and you should start to worry. And then once you get a daily close below $83,000, then you're likely going to go below $70,000. Right now, I'm thinking we get a pullback into that 91s to 90s, and then bounce there and into 100,000 plus.
Nice. Very nice. There we go, sir.
Nice. All right, cool. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with Farn on a, pullback into May. That to me just seems likely, especially just based on kind of where this rally stopped. 95.5 is extremely important for bulls to reclaim because to me, that's kind of the slingshot move to 100K. As long as we're under 95.5, though, we definitely are in more pullback territory. And I mean, even if you're a bull, you'd want to pull back. That would make a lot of sense. And that's where we actually will form our bullish structure on price. For me, what I'm looking at is similar to Faron. The level first, obviously 91,000 to 90,800 is the first spot for me. And, that is coming in similar, but not very. I mean, I guess let's see where the 5 is. Somewhat close to the weekly 5. But for me personally, I honestly think we're actually going to see more closer to that weekly 34 tested. Now we'll look at 91s. That'll be the first logical bounce zone. That was just evident when we were in this chop zone here. And that's more specifically around 90,800 to 91K. But when I'm gauging the daily on Bitcoin, what I actually see is, we essentially broke out from that EMA 100 on the daily. And I know two things on Bitcoin. I know on the daily, the EMA 100 is extremely important. Let me actually delete this now, because this is more visual representation. For me, though, I know the EMA 100 on the daily is important. And I also know the weekly 9's important. And so for me now, that to me makes a lot of sense to see a move down from this point and actually test closer to 88,500. That has confluence of being right around where the weekly 9 is, right around 88,700. And I do believe the weekly median is there on the Binance chart. Let me just see here. Things being a little glitchy. Yeah, and so that median actually is at 85. Was it on the index? Could have sworn it was something. Yeah, here it is. Here on the index, we actually do see, and this has more data. So I'd want to use the HBDR on the index. This, got reclaimed. This was under it since we essentially opened below it in January. So the beginning of this year, we were under it for multiple months. Now, for the first time, we've actually closed above it. You should be gauging a throwback here as bullish and kind of like an opportunity. And where does that lie? Well, that median does lie around 88,500. So for me, that's 3 points of data that's telling me 88,300 to 88,600 is kind of the spot we should be gauging. And that's kind of where I'm going to be looking. So now that we understand, a pullback is more likely than not, for me now, it's just more gauging, okay, I'm not really looking to short this zone because as we've seen, Bitcoin can be quite unpredictable when it starts consolidating like this. We kind of saw that around this zone here before we actually did break out. So that's why for me, I'm just more sitting in my hands, watching that daily 9, because very simple trading. The daily 9's been holding us since basically the start of the rally. So if we start losing this daily 9, that'll be my indication that we're probably going to end up going low, right? We're going to get our pullback. And from this point, I want to see either that SMA 200 hold, which ties into kind of what Farn was saying around the 90s and 91K holding, maybe possibly a wick down to that 88.5. That way, then we can test the weekly median on the index. We can actually get that daily EMA 100 retest. And also we can retest the weekly 9, right? There's a lot of points where if we end up going down to that 88,000 region, should end up being a spring. And this should end up kind of grinding out the next major higher low, in my opinion. For me, longs around there make sense because you have a very easy invalidation. You can here play trend, so you understand you're wrong if we start losing or breaking under 83K. But we can front run this, and if the daily starts actually SFPing this EMA 100, this is where I'm going to cut all longs and actually flip short, because then this will confirm that what we just saw here on this move up was a major bull trap. We shifted trend, but we couldn't hold the back test, leading to just a bunch of bulls trapped at 95. So we do have some scenarios here. Bulls and bears are going to be watching closely, just based on everything that we've seen so far. I believe now we need to be more on long watch, and I need to be gauging a move down. It's going to be aggressive, because if this move down was very slow, you're going to not really trap shorts. And the idea is we're going to aggressively dump down to 88,500. And at that point, you're going to have a lot of long shorts thinking they've caught a major opportunity, and you're going to have a lot of longs covering while we're going to be going max long at this zone. And that is a nice pullback. It's at this point 6.3%. So that's kind of still on just at least what I'm waiting for on Bitcoin. Am I surprised that today we're having some, kind of more bearish momentum in markets? No. And that's just evident because of kind of where this rally has stopped. So going now to the lower time frames, we can see more of that bearishness. And it's very simple to me now. If this 4 hour starts losing that 34, because if you've noticed, this 34 has been holding even on a 4 hour, we start losing this 34 and actually breaking away from this point, not we close a 4 hour under it and then it quickly gets reclaimed and then we chop. No, but we actually close a 4 hour, retest it, and that flips into resistance. That'll be my indication that we're going to get that deeper pullback to the 90s at very minimum. If you are shorting, which I haven't given any shorts, and I'm personally not shorting, that kind of can be your at least confirmation of a deeper move down. It makes sense. You lose the 34, you'd get a move down to the 100. That's sitting right around 90,500. That's coming in right around major support. And also the first support zone I'm going to be looking at, 90,800 here. Visually, you can see was very well respected in this chop zone. Kind of was catching the lows here. So logically, yes, that would make sense to see a pullback kind of hold there. But with what we know, especially with that SMA 200, I really don't see why bears wouldn't take it all the way home, finally get this retest, maybe an extremity low here before going up. And I do think that when we do get this pullback, this is the one you really want to be watching carefully, because I do believe that this is going to be the major move before we go up and break out to 100K. And that's just based simply on BBWP. If we go to the index here, this is still in breakout posturing. This is telling me that we are probably most likely going to trend pretty hard in May. And that's why I want to be watching carefully, because I know before a major move, Bitcoin gets the most predatory. And for me, a move down 6%, getting everyone properly bearish before a major breakout would be a Bitcoin move. Another point on the daily too, with volatility, on why just a pullback from this point could be more likely, is just based on daily BBWP, right? You're getting this consolidation. You're having longs kind of scale in here, talking about a bull flag, but I'm more questioning this consolidation right at resistance, simply based on where volatility is, right? We're breaking under the moving average now. This is telling me that this is starting to contract. And in a real, just simple visual, right? This was starting to expand up into extreme zones with price action going green. So if we start resetting, we should kind of get the counter opposite, which is down. So, you're just getting a lot of things here kind of pointing to downside is more likely at this point. We also have a witch setup on the daily. This is just simply based on the moons. I don't know why it's not loading. Did I not hit it? I know it's still loading. We do have a bear moon here. So, you have volatility contracting. You're right at 95.5, which is major resistance, was a previous breakdown zone. And you're getting a lot of inefficiency and price action that needs to be tested. And even if you're a max bull, you should be gauging a pullback that would be more bullish than not. So you're getting a lot of things telling me, at least, you shouldn't be scaling longs here. Now, shorting's slightly aggressive, and I believe last stream we talked about the high possibly here holding, and that still is kind of the camp I'm on. So if you're shorting this, you're ideally just now looking at this high that was formed on April 25th to kind of hold. You don't want any daily closure above 95.5. If we get any daily closure above 95.5, or even just call it above April 25th high, that's going to be my confirmation that, yeah, we're about to see 100,000 to 99,500. And we're most likely then going to reject there and not here. But until then, we have a greater chance now of going down. And actually, this will be good because I want to really go max long into May, not just simply based on, the daily being above the EMA 100, the monthly bouncing perfectly from the EMA 9. Right, this has been holding the entire bull market whenever it wants to load. Oh, well. Anytime now. Well, the monthly 9 has been that's always just been an indicator for bull markets. The daily EMA 100, and then lastly, the weekly 9, right? And luckily for us, the weekly and the daily have just shifted freshly bull. So that's why this pullback here is going to be very important to gauge, because we could be in a zone like this where, we freshly broke out and then we got this quick pullback. It overshot slightly. And then this kind of was the opportunity to go long before we bigly broke out. And right as it stands now, I could see an extremity low at the EMA 34, but I am, with everything that we've seen on the daily, the weekly, and so forth, it seems to me that 88.5 is going to be the spot. We also see the weekly has the 9 and the 21. They've crossed. We were looking at this when they did cross more bearish. So now this is more bullish, and it's just playing into, bulls are more in control than what we've seen all year. So this is quite important to me to see that. Let's look at the 5-day too. Let me go to the index. Let me draw right here, 95.5. There we go. And even the 5-day, you can just see the price structure here in real time. We see here the 21 and the 9 are about to cross, and then that's sitting right around 88.5. So again, just lots of confluence of the zone. It's like you could get a legitimate bounce at 91s for sure. And that's kind of the first zone I'm going to be gauging. To me, it's like a gift if we go down to like 88s, maybe even to 85s. That's like a gift because of just how everything is. Now, in a week or two, if everything starts shifting, the daily EMA 100 starts deviating, the weekly 9 deviates, well, that's why then I have my system. We can quickly shift bear. But until then, everything now is just looking prime for a bullish retest before a big breakout in May. And the idea now is that the more aggressive we go down, the more bearish people will get, and that's kind of what will fuel our move to 100K. I think trades from 88,000 to 86,000, taking that to 100,000 is money. Really. So that's kind of my plan. That's kind of Bitcoin. So now let's look at Tether dominance, and let's see if we see any kind of confluence of maybe a bounce. Trading view is very slow today. All the crypto bros are on it. Nice. So here we see the 2-day EMA 100. Logical to look for a bounce here. And that is right around the 5%, right? That is, a nice psychological number. You should be gauging some kind of bounce. but specifically with the 2-day EMA 100 here, just made it easy. So for me now, it seems likely that, you know, based on just the way we're holding the zone, you know, I don't see why we're not going to go and test this 21 here, which is sitting right around the meme line and the 38.2% on the 2-day. That to me seems likely. Let's see how much up that would be. So yeah, that's coming in right around 2.62%. Just kind of playing into the scenario that a pullback first is more wise to be looking on Bitcoin. You can even see here that you're very slowly but trying to put in bullish structure here. If I go and throw the trend wave on, you can just kind of see that. Now you're trying to put in bullish structure. Taking out this high is going to be important, and actually closing above it. What that'll mean is if we can actually take this out and close above it, the daily 9 has just been reclaimed. And generally, wherever the 21 is, you get the next move there. It's just loading. Of course, the one I want is loading. There it is. And the 21 is sitting right around that 5.24%. Maybe you get a wick up to 5.28%. But again, just playing into the next zone for tether dominance seems to me to be right around that 5.24%. That is still around a 2% move from this point. So, you know, looking at bearish momentum on Bitcoin in the short term is definitely the move moving forward. And we did talk about this, right? A pullback into early May seems very likely to me. And that pullback in early May will really determine if this was either a major bull trap on Bitcoin or if this is truly going to be a major shift. We're going to see the bearish divergence on the monthly fail for the first time ever. And we might even get a blow off top scenario. And that's kind of what I'm looking at moving forward. And that's why it is wise to be paying attention. But we know Bitcoin's most predatory before a major move up. We've seen this each and every time. And that's why for me, it's just wise to kind of sit on your hands, not short, but more be on long watch. And if you do get your triggers, to just punt it and then see what happens. Because, you know, for me, it's a lot harder to short into the zone. Now, if you have your risk set, it's, you know, you can play it. But to me, shorting into the zone, it just seems kind of too easy. A liquidity grab could happen here. But like we said last stream, as long as you're running with this high being kind of the local top, then shorting here will make sense. And anytime you're getting 95.5, you're just getting a super, super tight RR short. So, you know, tether dominance is at a bounce zone now. And within the next day or two, you could see this 5.25% get hit, which, you know, if this then gets reclaimed, then we can start talking about, you know, so what I could actually see is maybe this hitting the 21, and this plays into foreign scenario where 91K gets hit on Bitcoin, and that's the bottom. We reject the zone. This was the bearish retest. If we actually start reclaiming 5.24%, maybe we make a move up to 5.4%, retest simply this breakdown zone, which was major support. And this is where I get filled on my long. So, you know, both scenarios are very logical. And the discretion is only like $2,000 difference, maybe $3,000. So it's really not that much. And what you're seeing now is this daily is potentially going to close really nicely on tether dominance. Then if this 9 gets reclaimed, should be looking at that as kind of support, taking us to the 21 at minimum. So, you know, that's not too bad. Not too bad. And you can even just see the bullish price structure here on price and just higher lows. Now we got that higher high break. So, you know, it's good. It's not, and even the 4-hour, you see the EMA 100 sitting right around that 5.22%. So just more confluence on 5.23 to 5.24% seems like the next stop for tether dominance. From there, we'll just have to gauge if this gets reclaimed or if it starts rejecting this zone. And then in confluence, using, you know, 91s to see if that holds on Bitcoin or if we lose that. But yeah, now you're even getting that breakdown. So, you know,
I'd be curious for you guys to look at afterwards. I mean, we have ETH and Tesla after. but the S&P 500 and whatnot, because everything is dumping hard right now. And yeah, kind of seems important.
Cool. No, definitely, because yeah, I see that ES1 is now down 1.54%, but here it's still looking okay to me as long as we hold above that 5,450. A pullback is welcomed here. Now bulls just want consolidation. Now let's just see where these moving averages, when they load, where they're at, because that'll be quite important. Boomers like their moving averages, but even the HBDR, you see the median shifted greatly down. You see the 9 here is about to be tapped, which, we haven't hit this since April 24th. So, it's still looking straight to business, in my opinion. Now, if you start losing this 5,456, yeah, you're going to go down to that 5,330. And just like what I was talking about 2 weeks ago, this is a very important zone, this 5,330 on ES1. This generally is what sparks big breakouts. So, if we go down to there, that's kind of where I'm like, okay, this is either going to bounce here, or yeah, we're going to bigly break down. But a bounce there still would put in bullish structure. And if you are gauging like an $88,000 pullback on Bitcoin, then you would be gauging probably the daily 9 not to hold, and this to most likely happen, because we haven't actually tested this since we broke out, right? You have just like a minor gap fill here. We went up. So if you lose the daily 9, I don't see why you wouldn't go and test this. And that probably plays into the Bitcoin idea. But yeah, ES1 still looking okay. Yeah, you're falling, under the 34, but you would need to be, this is kind of like a magnet when you see the 9 and the 21 lining up and you just have them crossing freshly. That's important. So still looking okay to me. I'm trying to see where the 55 is. Yeah, majorly up. So, above 5,330, ES1 is still okay. Now, if you start going under there and then Bitcoin starts losing the daily EMA 100, then, this could then just play into the bull trap scenario. But until then, this is still looking orderly. And a pullback is expected when you're at the extremes here. And you had a higher high on the daily. So as long as you're essentially not taking this low out, any low down to here, can be your next higher low, in my opinion. Because, right, you had this, and then you had a higher low. Now you've made your higher high. So, even if you did this, it still would play into the bullish structure. So, yeah, not the worst, in my opinion. Bitcoin's now churning. The daily's churning kind of ugly. This is just playing into the pullback scenario. Very nice. So now I'm not in shorts. I'm not long. I'm just kind of waiting to max long. And I'm going to be using what I know, which is the weekly 9 and the EMA 100 to guide me. And that is coming in right around all the same levels. And on the index, the weekly median is right around 88.5. So we have just 3 points of confluence for me to tell me that 88.5 most likely is going to hold, if not give us some reaction there. And that's kind of what I'm going to be playing with the Academy up. Now we've looked at Tether dominance. I can look at Bitcoin dominance next. And this is still breaking out. Next level, as long as we hold above 63.8%, yeah, it's going to be the 69.5% for the culture. And this doesn't look like it's going to stop. And it quite frankly just looks like it's in the process of a breakout. And the monthly reclaiming that EMA 100, which I believe it was Bitcoin dominance that did that. Let me just see. It's going to take a minute to load, but that getting reclaimed was major for me. That's a major shift. And now we have a point of reference where if Bitcoin dominance is truly going to be bearish, if we start losing that on the monthly, that to me is then going to be kind of my sign. But as long as it's above it, we have to then be looking at this as just extremely bullish. Here it is. So you see that? It's like now we've expanded almost 4% from there. I remember when this closed, this was very important. We talked about, yes, we didn't technically reclaim support, But this was enough for me to say, yeah, this is very bullish and this is a major shift. And we've actually never in the history of Bitcoin dominance seen this before. So, you can look at that as however you want. I was trying to look at that as, this is going to play into the bear market, because while Bitcoin is going down, this is still going up, but it didn't work that way because we've seen this steadily go up with Bitcoin going up. So you can then interpret that as, either that bear market scenario, or this is then going to go to levels we haven't seen in a very long time. And this is just going to play into the blow off top scenario on Bitcoin, where we just actually do go up like to 150, 160,000 very fast, and then maybe reject. And that plays into kind of that 2020 scenario on Bitcoin dominance, where it just went absolutely parabolic and then bigly topped. And then that's when alts actually did okay. But, they needed to die first before that happened. So, we're in the same zone here now. You can see when this zone got reclaimed, you literally had a free ride up to the 70s to 69%. S&P. And yeah, that's it. So very few times you've actually hit this. So this is actually very important. And even BBWP is about to break back above the moving average, which we haven't seen that happen since, well, October of 2024, when we had that harsh rejection down. So, there's legitimate reasons to think Bitcoin dominance is about to go to 69.5%. And that still is playing into, if you get any kind of pullback, it's just a higher low. This is a very simple uptrend. And it really is like trading Bitcoin dominance would be very easy, because through and through, it's just been a very easy uptrend, which shows strength. So I think that's it. Honestly, I mean, look at Dixie a little bit. So we got that nice weekly close. Let me delete this so I can see how that closed. Okay. Yeah, so we have the hammerhead here. So now this is, ideally going to play into Dixie has bottomed. You don't want to see this low get taken out. And you're just going to either consolidate here, move down, fill some of that wick, not take out that low, form bullish price structure, and then move up, or you're actually just going to break out and test the 9 from here. Both scenarios, though, lead to this low not getting hit. So you can interpret that however you want, but I'm still going to run on the camp that Dixie is trying to grind out a major bottom here. And then therefore in May, we can actually, see a move up, possibly going just simply to the monthly 9 even. This close is going to be important. So I want to really see Dixie honestly close above $99.67 today. That would be nice. That'll help me play in more that this is bottomed and not just in the midst of a breakdown. Because even if we got to move wherever the 9 is, I believe it's around 103. That'll be a pretty nice mean reversion move. And now even seeing here the EMA 100 on the monthly did get tested. So, it's just more of a bottoming place than not. It's quite aggressive saying that this isn't going to bottom, especially when you are holding above the EMA 100. Now, if this loses it, great. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we are going to go to the SMA 200. But until then, I mean, this has been the spot that has marked major bottoms on Dixie whenever you test that EMA 100. So I'll just quickly show that. We didn't even test it here, and that was it. Boom, boom. Failure on this one when we reclaimed it. But even when you reclaimed it, I will say you did end up going up 3%. So boom, boom. So, you only have a few times where you've actually hit this. So you need to really pay attention closely to that. And, that is important because, it's a weird dynamic where, you're seeing Dixie move up and Bitcoin move up. So, but this even looks bullish on the daily. It looks like a higher low. And now you're just brewing a higher high break. And you can even say, well, look at that. Boom, boom, boom. What is that? Inverse head and shoulders. So Dixie is looking bullish, and you would actually get an inverse head and shoulders closer to bottom. So, Yeah, inverse head and shoulders. Yeah. So, you know, it's just not looking the worst in my opinion on Dixie. But we'll quickly be wrong on that if we take this low out. So for me to not be wrong, I just don't want that low to get taken out, and that would, you know, play into the hammerhead hold. So, but yeah, that's kind of all I have on Bitcoin, Tether, Bitcoin dominance, and Dixie. ES1 though, I'm really not concerned yet. We'll have to see though. That can quickly change, but you know, we're now testing the daily 9, so. This ideally will hold. If we lose the daily 9, 5,330 is probably going to come up next. That has just kind of been my line in the sand. You lose that, then I'll be concerned. Until then, there's really no reason to. Where is the weekly 9? Let me just see that real quick. And even here, you have a massive weekly hammerhead. So, you know, as long as we're not losing that weekly EMA 100, you literally can just like grind a higher low out around 5,330. Rejecting the 9, come back here. If you reject the 9, it's like coming back here would seem likely. Just don't take this low out. So we really could actually get an easy long on ES1 here soon, in my opinion. What about the monthly? Oy. Well, that is somewhat concerning, I will say. Yeah. Okay. Well, that at least looks better. Obviously, when you get these big wicks, like this still is bearish to me. But obviously, you have somewhat of hope because you have a few things. You have the 21 being held, so that plays into the idea that into May, a pullback would be likely to test the 21. You also have a major just wick, right? Most times these get filled, or not filled, but at least just somewhat filled in the sense that they get it's like a major inefficiency. I look at it like that. And so price needs to come down on the new monthly candle, fill some of that out, take some of the liquidity out. There's no free lunch in this game. You know, bulls are looking at this though as a major liquidity grab that just took out all these stops. Bears are looking at this as a fresh loss of the monthly 9, and now a major harsh rejection, and yet they still couldn't reclaim it. So you can look at it both ways. You know, even on this move down, right, you still filled some of that out here and then moved up and then obviously dumped. And then here you filled some of that out before going up. Not really. Somewhat here. You know, here you did. So, like, it's not dumb to say that. It definitely does like to fill out some of that wick. But this isn't the best candle, I will say. It is somewhat concerning. It's more concerning. It's more worse than better. But there is hopium still. And that's me saying that. If I can find a short, I will. The hopium is that the 21's holding. You know, if we lose the 21, which is right around that 5,330, then yeah, this is cooked. And we're probably going to go back down under 5K. But until then, I mean, I have to then be looking at this as possibly a new range, which is based on the moving averages. And we possibly could be into May, getting a move down, testing the 21, maybe goes a little lower. We wouldn't want that just based on what I showed on trend, though. Yeah, trend on ES1. Maybe we hit the 21 that ties into 5,330 getting hit, and then we make our way up at very minimum to the 9. Right. And then there we either reject or we reclaim it. That still is a very tradable range. I mean, 6%. That'll definitely play well into Bitcoin going down to like 88, 89K and then going up to 100K. Definitely tradable range. You know, so yes, concerning slightly, but not the worst, not the best. Next month in May will be the determination in all this. And then also seeing where these ranges shift. Because if we now go back to the weekly, what did I mean by trend? Well, you know, we are potentially now forming a trend. We have the higher high break. So as long as we don't take this low out, you know, any move here can be that, you know, a higher low. And you can gauge if this is strong or weak as long as we're above the weekly EMA 100. So yeah, it makes sense. Pull back into early May. test the monthly 21. It just ties into kind of what we see on Bitcoin. So I'm actually now kind of getting bricked up to long ES1 potentially, just based on what I see. But that can quickly change, and we'll see.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we don't end up being Kathy Wooded, since she already came out and buy the dip, and the dip keeps dipping.
Yeah, but I don't want to get Wooded, Kathy.
Touching dips.
Last stream, this is what we said, and this is basically what's playing today, right?
Yeah,
that's what we're playing.
Yeah,
there you go. We don't. I don't even have to explain it. Although, may I say, weakness in Salamis was a very good gauge for a Bitcoin short in the short term. It really was. I'm definitely
I keep on that because you were calling that for 100%, especially when it got to that 150 zone. Daily EMA 100 rejected nice on that.
Yeah, the dynamic for those listening that want to understand what we're saying is when Bitcoin was, and let me put it on the daily. I think the 12-hour will actually reflect it better on this one. Sorry, everyone's trading, so everyone's on their trading view right now about saying, "Oh, the tariffs are killing us. The market is so red. These fucking tariffs." Hang on a second. Just give it 30 minutes. There it is. Okay. So Bitcoin was up here on the range, which is perfectly shortable, not taking out this high right here, just like you were saying. And meanwhile, Solamis, because when Bitcoin is strong, Solamis is stronger, and Solamis is leading the way. Solamis did this, and he just went down. So Solamis was the first one to tell me that Bitcoin was going to encounter heavy resistance up here. I can't go from screen to screen because this is going to take me 30 years. But nice drop on Salamis and nice drop on Bitcoin right now. And that's what there you go. It's doing the prophecy for now. So that was interesting. Just for me to note, short-term pullbacks or short-term longs, Salamis is definitely, for some reason, leading the way. No idea why, but it seems
like it did on Friday too. It pumped before anything else because I was short on Sol. Stopped me out. So we can use that though. Like maybe when Bitcoin does get to 88, 89, maybe it is aggressive. Maybe we're like questioning it, and then Sol starts bottoming around the 130s.
Well, that's what we need to see, because I think if you lose 137 on Solana right now, 137, that can turn really ugly. Like really fucking ugly, because this is a critical little spot for Salamis.
For me, it's 135. 130. It's like 136. It's 136. So it's $1 difference. You could look at the 34, but I agree with you. Yeah, it's like you lose that, you're going to like 120, 120.
It's all air. Yeah, to me, you might swing it all the way to 104, and especially looking at the HPDR, because on the HPDR on the daily on Salamis, is it the daily?
Oh yeah, I see that. It's breaking.
That's the weekly. It is, but hang on. No, I think it's the weekly. Or no, the monthly. Yeah, hang on. Let me just go one by one to make sure I'm not fucking this up. So this is the weekly. Weekly, you have your median right here at 130. If you go to 130, I think you're going to break it and go down to 107, which is really close to my meme line. But let me see the monthly.
That's a nice view.
The monthly, the bottom of the 38.2% is also the meme line at 104.
Yeah, so we'll have to really
one thing that it has going for it is that on the weekly it has a buy signal on the jewel in the bearish control zone, which the last time it had that was
nice.
Last time it has that was January of 2023.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of the bounce is perfectly playing into, like I said, this is just simply the chart that we had yesterday. I myself don't want to buy the dip that keeps dipping, and having Kathy Wood out is what makes me nervous. That's the only only fundamental.
And that's why
then you'll have to touch dips.
That's why for me, the criteria does allow for us to logically look for longs. But as soon as that EMA 100 on the daily gets lost, yeah, I mean, I'm then going to be questioning this whole thing. But until then, we have my 3 checkpoint list: EMA 100 on the daily, EMA 9 on the weekly, and then the monthly. seems good to go. So we'll see though, because yeah, that would be quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
That would actually.
All righty. Well, thank you. That was awesome. Good,
Yeah.
good to see, and good perspective on it. I already sent you Tesla and ETH are next, and we'll get to it right now. Thank you, sirs. Vale, vamos a ver Bitcoin, damas y caballeros. Déjenme quito rápido mi HPDR para no hacerles tanto pedo. Está lento esto, las tablas en este momento, simplemente porque todo el mundo está tradeando. Pueden ver acá todo lo rojo. Entonces todo el mundo está friqueando, VIX está subiendo, bla, bla, bla. Tesla bajo 6%, Oclo 7%, Rivian solamente 3.3%, Lucid 6%. Bitcoin cayó, ahora sí que de 95 rápido a los 93 que lo estamos viendo, 93,300. Cayó un poco más ahorita, pero da igual. Lo que habíamos sugerido en el stream pasado fue ver esta posibilidad de ver a Bitcoin caer acá, ni siquiera he editado mi tabla, y después repuntar para un long. Esa es una de las dos visiones que tienen Alex y Farhan. Los dos lo ven igual, los dos que eso es bastante bueno para simplemente tener un análisis uniforme para nosotros. ¿Por qué? Porque estamos encontrando que esto iba a tener un pullback. El pullback está dándose en este momento, que es el jalón para abajo. Y lo que queremos ver es dónde vamos a encontrar ese suelo para el siguiente impulso para arriba. En mi opinión, debería de ser acá, en los 89, 88 mil dólares, donde tienes estos promedios. Perdiendo estos promedios diarios, yo me pondría nervioso. Pero por ahora esto debería de ser. Farhan cree que los 90, 91 mil dólares deberían de aguantar, simplemente porque es esta zona donde se ha encontrado antes con soporte, y eso podría ser. Y Alex es un poco más agresivo en su posición, diciendo 87, 88, no 87, 88, 89 podría ser donde encontremos esto. Vamos a analizarlo rápido para ver qué exactamente tiene más sentido. Para todos ustedes, por supuesto. Aquí lo tenemos en la trimestral. Continuamos en esta postura alcista, por supuesto. Ahora, importante para mí, déjenme ver algo. Ok, lo que no queremos perder son los 80 mil dólares, básicamente. De los 80 mil te llevaría para abajo a los 68. Ok, por ahora estamos bien, estamos creando altos más altos, lo pueden ver en toda la tabla. Voy a borrar mis líneas, no creo que las necesitemos más. Habíamos topado por acá en los 109, por ahora estamos encontrándonos con resistencia por acá y nos encontramos con soporte aquí abajo en los 80 mil y estamos justamente rangueando. Lo pueden ver perfecto acá, ¿no? El rango, pum, 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 pum. No hay de otra, esto es la trimestral y vamos a ver volatilidad. Volatilidad continúa siendo un poco de lo mismo que hacía antes, todavía no empieza a empujar para arriba diciendo que este movimiento va a cambiar. Ok. Déjenme ver el HPDR en la trimestral, porque sí hay datos para este tipo de gráficos. Ok, en la trimestral tenemos exactamente, nuestra media está donde está nuestra línea meme, justamente acá en esta zona en los 88,000, 88,400 es donde está la media, para que sepan. Sí, y eso es justo un poco para agregar un poco a ese análisis que nos dio Farhan y Alex. Si llegamos a perder estos 87, estás hablando del promedio del 9, es el siguiente objetivo, que serían los 69, que vieron en la tabla mensual por qué eso sería nuestro siguiente objetivo. Segundo objetivo sería la siguiente línea abajo en los 49. Eso sería si llegamos a perder los 88,400, que pensamos vamos a encontrar ahí una zona en donde rebotar. Vamos a la mensual. Mensual tenemos nuestra media justamente igualito en los 89,900. Esta línea meme es potente, señores. Potente. De perder esta zona y ahora, para esto solamente faltan 9 horas y 54 minutos para cerrar esta vela mensual. Lo que me dice, y esta vela mensual es también ¿cuándo cierra la trimestral? Enero, febrero, marzo, abril. Faltan 2 meses. Ok. Esta vela mínimo tiene que aguantar por encima. Este va a ser tu front run de la trimestral, ¿ok? Porque si llegas a perder acá los 89,900, que es donde está justo la línea meme, en la mensual, Eso te podría estar dando una advertencia en la trimestral. Vamos a mantenerlo por ahora. Continuamos porque estamos por encima del 9 en postura alcista y podría ser la primera vez en la historia que se elimine la divergencia alcista bajista en Bitcoin, que ha destruido cada ciclo, cada ciclo que le ha puesto final. Esta podría ser la primera vez que sucede. Ahora, atentos. Podría ser. Todavía no estamos diciendo que se vaya a dar o que sea. Me veo volatilidad en la mensual. Volatilidad en la mensual está preparando un movimiento, lo podemos ver desde el 20%. Todavía está por debajo del promedio. Recuerden, este es nuestro indicador de volatilidad, que es el BBWP. Volatilidad es la línea de colores. El blanco es el promedio, arriba es 100%, 0% es la azul. Y esta línea verde es la que usamos nosotros, la ponemos en el 15% para cuando encontramos nuestros setups favoritos, que es cuando baja la volatilidad por debajo y después sube. Por ahora, esto no está acá, pero teniendo la volatilidad viniendo de las zonas más bajas, a empezar a expandir va a ser un movimiento violento a donde lo apoye. Vamos a ver si las 2 semanas volatilidad nos cuenta algo. Volatilidad en las 2 semanas nula ante todos estos movimientos, importante. Estamos por debajo del 15% y estamos preparando un setup. También el promedio está por debajo del 15%. Ahora va a ser cosa de mantener un ojo acá a ver cuándo se va a voltear la volatilidad. Vamos para arriba. Estamos en la parte baja de la zona azul, en la de 2 semanas. Si podemos aguantar los 91,915, no vamos a tener problemas. Nuestro 50% está en los 87,560. En mi opinión, en la de 2 semanas, esa debería ser la línea en la arena, los 87,560, porque si no, la parte de abajo, el 61,8% está en 79, y eso rompería bastantes fundamentales en diferentes temporalidades donde diríamos se cocinó este pedo. Así que vamos a estar al pendiente de poder aguantar esta zona en 11 días, 10 horas para cerrar esta vela. Deberíamos ir a visitar la media que se encuentra en altos históricos, bueno, justo en la resistencia de altos históricos. Es donde lo veríamos y es donde pensamos que hay una alta probabilidad de ir después de este retroceso. Semanal, estamos viendo, dejen que cargue, estamos en la zona azul. La cosa es, tenemos que ir a retestear la media, tenemos que ir a retestear todo por acá y eso está en los 87 a $88,000 por acá, el promedio del 9, que sería nuestro primer objetivo. Es donde esperaríamos encontrar ese potente rebote a la alza o una vez más, el front run por ahí de los 90, 91 y que se vaya para arriba. Es lo que están esperando Alex y Farhan en este momento. En la volatilidad estamos todavía por debajo del promedio y no hay señal de expansión. Interesante. Mi mujer va a estar emputadísima, güey. La desperté 2 horas antes con mis gritos. Ok, acá es donde se pone interesante porque en el 5 días la media está en 90,776, lo que agrega confluencia al análisis de Farhan diciendo que aquí es donde podríamos encontrar este fondo para después ir a buscar altos históricos o mínimo a retestear los altos locales en este momento. Y lo que simplemente no querríamos perder son pongámosle $91,000, 90,500, ese rango. También la de 2 días es la que está usando Farhan para su, ¿cómo se dice? Para su buen bias, en que cargue, y van a ver por qué. Porque la parte alta de la zona azul está en 89, 90, pero el promedio del 9 está justamente en los 90,600. Y es ahí donde espera él encontrar acá el fondo y de ahí irnos para arriba. Y Alex lo espera justamente donde están estos promedios en los 88 y cacho. Diaria, ya voy a quitar este dibujo. Ya lo entendimos todo. Ya, bla, bla, bla. La diaria, tienes un cruce plateado, tienes este pompazo, estás justamente rebotando en la 9. De perder la 9, vas a la parte baja de la zona azul. Esa parte baja está en los 91,800. El 50% está en 90,500. Y ahí abajo el 61,8%, 89. Lo que agrega aún más confluencia a esto. Ahora, viéndolo por acá, bastante sencillo y ustedes han visto estos rangos por cuánto tiempo. Básicamente esperamos, cabrón, ya tenía el dibujo y lo borré, pero no sé por qué, esto para arriba. Podría ser, esa es opción A, opción B es simplemente acá los 90 y para arriba y no lo toca. Eso es lo que están viendo Farhan y Alex en las tablas en este momento para Bitcoin, preparándonos para un corto. La debilidad de Solana fue la que nos contó que esto iba a pasar. Habíamos visto a Solana topar, se los había contado yo. Y a cortos movimientos vale la pena entender que Solana está liderando el movimiento. Definitivamente. Lo he estado analizando sin parar por semanas. Solana está liderando el movimiento. Este fue el topecillo de Solana y desde entonces empezó a bajar. Bitcoin no hizo lo mismo, véanlo. Bitcoin consolidó de forma más predatoria. Denme 30 minutos. Bitcoin consolidó para arriba y pueden ver, tuvo el tope, mismo lugar, pero ahí Bitcoin se quedó por acá. Cuando Solana baja, me dice, hay una divergencia ahí de precios, voy a hacerle un corto por acá. Eso es lo que me dijo y estaba en lo correcto por acá. Así que voy a mantener esa relación entre Solana y Bitcoin para asegurarme que no se me vaya nada. Y una para ustedes, ya lo tienen, esperamos un rebote por acá abajo para irnos a altos históricos y también existe la posibilidad de que se rebote, no rebote y continúe yéndose para abajo, pero tenemos que estar atentos a todo el mercado, pero por ahora eso es lo que parece. Viendo todas las tablas, momentum, etcétera, tiene cara de que debería de aguantar esto y llevarnos para arriba al siguiente movimiento. All righty, we're ready for what's next?
Next is Tesla.
Let me invite people over to the Discord. And by the way, guys, we have a Discord. You're listening to this in English. If you want to come over, it's absolutely motherfucking free. It's called Elite Trading Academy. Come read Alex's analysis. Come read Farhan's. Go to the crypto chat in general to find everyone crying or everyone really happy right now. This is really good for you to support your trading with other people and have other ideas. Works out pretty well. Share your P&L cards with us and all that other good stuff. Para todos ustedes también que gusten, acompáñenos en nuestro Discord. Aquí lo tienen súper fácil. Alex, Farhan, todos los menús están del lado izquierdo, general, etcétera. Lo que necesiten lo tenemos acá y pueden apoyarse en otros traders. Y también, si quieren tradear futuros, caigan a nuestro sitio, se meten en la parte de arriba en tutos, cómo tradear en bluffing, y acá tienen un videito de 5 minutitos en putiza para poder hacerlo, por si andan de degenerados como nosotros, intentando hacer un short, un long de lo que viene. Y aquí está el enlace oficial para que vayan a bluffing y se registren como miembros de Elite Trading Academy. Todo esto es gratis, 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 gratis. Alrighty, boys, let's go. This
Let me share
is...
my screen, Tesla.
Oh, sorry, I went back with Alex's. Glad he didn't put his porn on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're in Dubai. They blocked that shit. You need a VPN.
VPN.
Porn VPN. That's when you know you're in you're in shambles. When you have to download a VPN for porn and not for anything else, that's when you know.
You know, hard. I don't even know. Yeah. That's good to know. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm going to the bathroom for a second. Not to do that. Good Lord.
Good.
Okay. So I'll start with the quarterly right now. The quarterly on Tesla has lost 38.2%. The last time that we had lost 38.2% was right around here. We ended up coming down to the bottom mean line. We actually broke the 100%. And the time before there was right around here, around July 2018, where we lost it, came all the way down to the 100%. Time before here, we lost it, came all the way down to the 100%. Basically, every single time we've lost it, we came down to the 100%. Is this time going to be different? I don't know. What's going to tell us it's going to be different is if we start closing quarterlies over this 38.2%, around $282. If you get a close over this 38.2%, that's what likely sends you up to this top 38.2%. Right now, that's basically right at all-time highs, right around $487. We're getting momentum bouncing up right from the edge of the bearish control zone, rejecting the bearish control zone while volatility still contracts. Right now, we have lost the buy signal on the jewel, but if we can close over that 38.2%, this is going to shift back into a buy signal, and that likely does send us to all-time highs. Right now, let's see the significance of the last time that we regained the bullish control zone. That was right around here, and we went to new all-time highs. Right around here, we made slightly high. Was this new all-time highs at the time? Yeah, it was new all-time highs at the time. Over here, where we bounced at the edge of the bullish control zone, still went to new, basically all-time highs. Shift to the monthly. Monthly has momentum pointing to the downside. getting very close to the bearish control zone, while volatility is still contracting. And that monthly is giving a fresh sell signal on the jewel. Has not confirmed just yet, but it's still there. But this is more of a short-term bearish, long-term bullish setup, where the pink is crossing above the 21, and your first tap of the bullish control zone would be a deviation. You flip back down into a sell, and then somewhere in this zone you flip back up, put in some hidden bullish divergence, and then send it up, which is like what the setup usually results in. And that lines up with us holding this 38.2% and this 55 EMA, giving us a target of somewhere around this top 38.2%. That's in the mid 300s at 355. 2 week is also giving you a high probability of a bounce in the zone. We've got to basically 100% on momentum and volatility. Now we're getting momentum flipping back up, giving you mean reversion posturing with momentum up and volatility to the downside. And we got all the way down to 97.5%. So as of now, we got to move back up. We ever so slightly close over that 5 EMA, and now we're getting a move down, testing this 95% in this meme line. What's likely from here is, as long as this meme line holds, we're probably going to come up to that mid 300 area to test somewhere around this 38.2%. But this 38.2% is also likely to move down. I'm thinking it's going to move down to somewhere around this $350 area. Once you start to reclaim that area, that's where you probably go back up to the fours. And I forgot to mention the jewel. Jewel is also giving us, just about to give us a pretty awesome sell signal. It's not happening as high as you would like to see it happen, but it's still pretty powerful even from this area. Where the pink is about to drop below the yellow, dark blue in the bearish control zone, and it's a 2-week time frame. You would just need some consolidation if this does result in a nuke, because it likely doesn't nuke while we're this low on the HPTR. Weekly is now pointing pretty strongly to the upside of momentum, getting close to the bullish control zone. Volatility is now 23%, and we have a weekly buy signal on the jewel. We've reclaimed this 200 SMA. We close all the way above the 55. Now this finding some type of support around this meme line, this 9. If we can steadily hold this area based off of this close over the 55, we should see it move somewhere around the 78.6%, same $350 area. Let's mark with a vertical line these buy signals on the jewel in the bearish control zone. Let's see. And that should be it. One cool part about Dubai is I never have to worry about if it's going to rain or not.
Well,
It's
no,
not.
sometimes he does. Sometimes he does, and especially right now.
That would fucking suck.
That would be fucking hilarious. But by the way, it rains and it's so hot in 2 minutes, everyone's dry.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, everyone smells like dog shit, including yourself. But, I'm not saying you smell like dog shit, but like I smell like dog shit doing that when I was in Dubai.
I always smell good. I pride myself in smelling good.
You're a super cologne guy, aren't you? You seem like you graduated
Something
the
like that.
Drakkar Noir school, and now you're getting fancy colognes on.
Something like that.
Exactly.
I got a hell of a deal at the Switzerland airport, and bet your ass I take it. I got a bottle that's usually around 500 for like 270.
Damn.
6%. I was quite happy. The you know what inside of me was quite happy.
Of course.
30%
God.
is 60%, quite big. So it's either somewhere around 25 to 30% or 50% to 60%. This one's kind of a failure. Is it? Went up 9.76%. Would you consider that a failure? I don't know. And then it did go up another 49%. So it did meet that 50% move. And as of right now, We moved up. Oh, we've moved up the minimum move of about 25 to 30%. So if this 2021 EMA is going to continue to be resistance, we could have that move in and continue to go lower. But what would confirm that move lower is you would need to see a close below $229.79. If we continue to see up to see that 50 to 60% move, that would take us somewhere between, oh, what do you know, 345. We could just stop right there because that fits my price. Or 60% is about 370. 5 years already gotten into the bullish control zone, but it's starting to flip down a little bit. With something we probably get some type of little pullback here. Still over the moving average, however, while volatility still contracts, and you have now a second phase of a bicycle on the jewel, whereas the weekly is only giving you one. We're getting a bounce right off this top 38.2%, which if it does continue to hold this area, once again, likely another point that tells you somewhere around 350. 2 days also starting to flip down a little bit. Put in a little bit of a top candle right here on the 2 day. While volatility is still contracting, still over the moving average, so not really anything to worry about yet. And the 2 day jewel is now giving you a pretty epic signal where the pink is crossing above the yellow, and it's really within the bearish control zone. And it's completely skipped the neutral phase right here, just went straight to buy. Let's mark this with a vertical line. And see where we got these in the bearish control zone. Right there. A little bit more. No, it's like just put right there. I got the tism. Give me a little patience. Let's see. Come on. Give us another one. There we go. And that should be it. Would have been nice to be trading Tesla on leverage back in 2018, 2019.
Oh, can you imagine?
That 2020, 2021 up only would have been so fun if you're 20x leverage. 26%. There's that one meme I used to love that said I'm leveraged to the tits.
What about leverage?
I'm levered to the tits.
Oh.
33%, very similar. 30%, 33%, 27%. $71%, that's a little different. I welcome a 71% pump. Okay, 22%, not quite 30. Okey-doke. And as of right now, if you were to take it around 20% from the open, would bring us to right around $340, just below my target of 350. I wonder how much percentage 350 is. 25, 26%, very similar to a number we had before. Interesting. Now let's shift on to daily. Daily is still flipped up, although you're getting to very extreme areas. Very likely you continue this pullback from here based on how high we are on momentum and volatility. And we're tapping the 95%. Probably as long as you hold this meme line, you can grind out some type of bottom in this area. Once you start to lose this meme line, however, that's where you're going to come down to the 21 EMA, right around that $260 area. Still could hold this area though, just a little bit less likely. You're going to be in danger of coming down to fill this gap right around this $240 area, and it would come all the way down to hitting this top 38.2% as well. But that's only relevant once you start to lose this meme line right around $270 and this 9 EMA. Interesting how it front ran the 9 EMA but bounced on the meme line.
Meme lines, dude. The power of meme lines.
More powerful than a moving average. On the 4-hour, momentum is starting to pull back with volatility contracting, telling it's likely going to be a higher low. And we got a fresh lower across to the upside. As of now, we went below the 9 EMA. I believe we're above it now. Yeah, we're just ever so slightly above that 90 EMA now. So if we do bottom here and we hold this 100, this is going to be basically what I'm going to consider as a retest of this lower cross. I'd expect one more move into the 100 and the 90 EMA, maybe a little bit below to fill this wick a little bit, but I would expect that to play out to the upside. And during all of that movement where you come down to retest it, I expect these HPDR ranges to step up and then retry again for that 200. And that is around 333, not quite 350. That would have been nice if we could bricked up if this out at 350. Let's go to the RSI. Easler has an RSI that needs to be observed. Quarterly still has active hidden bullish divergence, just like Bitcoin came pretty close to invalidating it, but it's still going to be active as long as it's closing over $217.02. And confirming that will confirm some bearish divergence, which will then give you a target of $90. That's quite scary. But that's an if confirmed and has not been confirmed. Monthly, nothing. 2 week. Come on. Come on. Nothing. Ah, interesting. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Head and shoulders on the RSI and head and shoulders on the price. Huh. Once you start to close below around, basically that same $214 area, this thing's gonna fucking nuke. That actually makes the head and shoulders on price a lot more significant that there's also a head and shoulders on the RSI. Weekly has active. Oh, fuck, I hate when that happens. Active hidden bullish divergence, many drives. It's going to be active as long as you're closing over $229.79. And your next move is going to, 229.79.
Okay.
Your next move is going to be to the edge of the bearish control zone, which right now sits at 331, very close to 350. 5 day also the mini drives with hidden bullish divergence. You're going to be active as long as you're above 229.79. Next target is on 312. Let's go to the 3-day. Nothing. 2-day. 2-day has bullish divergence active, only one drive, and it will be active as long as you're closing above $272.42, which is dancing around that number. And your next target is going to be the bullish control zone, which is right now 321. Nothing on there. Nothing's going to be up with momentum. All right. Quarterly momentum right now is dancing right around the edge of flipping up or down. It's currently flipped down, and we are above the pivot, and we're right at the edge of the bearish control zone. So if we do close like this, we will flip back up. We will reject the bearish control zone, and we're gonna have put in momentum lower than this one by putting in a higher low, giving us hidden bullish divergence, giving us a target of our current all-time highs. Where all we have to really do is just hold the price we're at right now. We could even drop a little bit, and we will still confirm that, and bulls would take back control in the macro. They just have to not be cucks and hold whatever they're doing right now. Just whatever you guys have been doing for these past couple of weeks, just keep doing that. Don't need to do anything different.
Great piece of advice.
It's just like whenever your woman says, just keep doing that, and then you have to for some reason switch it up.
Because your legs are cramming or
Indeed.
your tongue's tired, whatever it is. Yeah, I get it.
On the monthly, we are pointed pretty heavily to the downside, although we are approaching the area where it should flip up after this monthly close. I mean, not flip up, but drop the pivot. And we are currently going to be flipped down as long as we're below $447. 2 week is also flipped to the downside, and we're going to be flipped down below 322. Do you remember how many times that 320 area came up? Weekly is currently flipped up, and it will be flipped up as long as you're above 245. 5 days also flipped up, and it will be flipped up as long as you're above 250. 2 days also flipped up, and it will be flipped up as long as you're above 247. Daily is also flipped up, and it will be flipped up as long as you're above 259.50. And 4 hours now starting to freshly turn down, and it will remain to the downside as long as you're below $293.50.
Alex, we'll
So
do
on the
ETH
high,
right after so that you can jump in.
on the high time frames on Tesla, it is starting to shape back around, and it is looking like the local bottom is probably in, especially because that we tested all the way down to the 21 EMA, which has been so significant on the quarterly. The momentum pivot has dropped significantly, and now it's below the what price is. We're putting in hidden bullish divergence on the quarterly. We're about to get volatility expansion from the same area that we had it, where we had that the 2000% move up in the 2019, 2020, 2021 era. We're getting momentum flipping to the upside on basically every single time frame below the monthly. Now what it looks like based on the 4 hour of the silver cross is we're going to get a little bit of a move to the downside, and momentum is down to test them around that $260 area. We test that silver cross, and then I'm expecting a move from after that into somewhere around the $330 to $350 range. Not sure yet if we're going to accept over that area or not. If we reject, then that head and shoulders is likely to play out. We're probably going to go below $200, probably significantly below $200. But if you start to solidly reclaim that $350 area, get like a daily close over that area, then you're probably going to go back to the 400s and probably new all-time highs. But right now, I'm looking for a pullback first, and then a move slightly higher to the 300s.
Very, very nice. Sir, we're ready for some Ethereums, and then I'll jump in and give everyone little dick. Wait, what? A little bit of the analysis. Sorry. God damn.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, let's look at ETH. Speaking of little dicks, Ethereum holders. That's all I'm gonna say. There is promising stuff, but personally speaking, I just feel like we're almost at support. You've come this far, it is hard for me not to say that ETH BTC has a little more down. The hopium now is that last week's candle was nice. Well, this candle is not the worst looking. Bulls are going to be looking at this low to hold. But that scenario hasn't really been playing out for ETH BTC at all. Let's look at the daily now. Maybe a lower time frame can tell us something. And something you're noticing now is without the HPDR, we had hopium of bullish price structure here, but after now taking out these lows, for me, it just seems more likely for us to go back down, especially filling out some of this candle. And even the daily, you have a massive shooting star. This is actually more towards an evening star, in my opinion. And now you're getting the follow through. So, the daily EMA 9 has been solid resistance. You got chop around there, similar to around here. But then once you ended up breaking away from the 9, it acted as resistance. So you should be gauging that same criteria now on ETH BTC to kind of tell you, yeah, we do probably have a little more downside to go, but then we are close to a major bounce zone on ETH. And that's just simply based on the zone at 1623 on ETH BTC. And we're talking about a potential 13% more to go. If we view this on a weekly, though, it's a pretty big spot. And we've bottomed here on the tiny amounts of time we've actually tested the zone. This has been big bottoming point. So similar to here, you'd want to see a move down, hit it, a reaction, and then this is where you get your bullish price structure. We haven't really gotten any of that yet, and it's hard for me to say, yes, we're going to go up now, just simply based on candle. We're kind of in like the no trade gray zone of a chart. Personally, if you're an ETH bull, I'd just be waiting for a scenario like this. Even a move up to the weekly 9 could be let's see here, closer to 30%. So that's pretty impressive. So now let's see ETH, right? So if ETH BTC looks likely to maybe go down more, what about ETH spot? And so what we see now is ETH is at resistance. The nice part is the weekly did reclaim the meme line resistance, but we want to see follow through here. What you're noticing now is the 2 days about to give us a deviation. So then you should be gauging 1800 as resistance on Ethereum. Maybe a reaction around 1600, but I'm looking for maybe the lows to get tested again on ETH, specifically just based on ETH BTC. ETH BTC can go lower, and spot price doesn't have to break these lows. But if we fall back within this range, not even looking at this anymore because it played out, we are now kind of at the 9. We need to see bull step in here. If you start losing this 2-day 9, this has been rejecting us. Last occurrence essentially led to a dump. With the SFP in play, you'd have to really be gauging this is putting us back within the range. Next target being 1,430. There, ideally, we'll get the double bottom scenario. ETH BTC does hit, its level that I mentioned. Bitcoin does bottom around 88, 89K. And then we can actually start moving up on ETH. But until then, this does look bearish to me, and it looks like it's on the verge of breaking down, possibly within today's close. And that's really not a strong asset that you want to really be buying. And yes, even here you see the 2-day is testing the 38.2%, but if this does fall back within this range, or these ranges move up, the median is sitting right around $1,600, which, is an impressive 10% dump from this point. So ETH is a lot more weaker than Bitcoin. And this is a big zone on ETH where you have seen major dumps down. Within 4 days, we've gone from this level all the way down to $1,300. So, it's definitely wise to be waiting for either 2,000 or even 1,900 to get reclaimed, or an extremity low long closer to that $1,400 with a stop loss at this low here that was formed on April 9th. Until then, ETH looks more likely to go down. It looks like it potentially can bottom though, and that's just gauging ETH BTC and kind of where it's at. It's similar to when we were here and here, right? So we can play these levels, but as soon as you start losing it, it opens up the next level. So, right, we're going to gauge this as support, and that's just based on the history of Ethereum. But if as soon as you start losing this 1.6 level, yeah, I mean, ETH is cooked, and we're going all the way back down to 0.07. We're going to lose a zero, in my opinion, and potentially see a capitulation down 54%. So this logically makes sense for bulls to kind of step in. You're at the monthly extreme ranges. But even here, if you lose this, 95%, going to 97.5% is closer to the mean line. So definitely could happen. But, bulls need the ETH BTC to hold this level, or it really will look like ETH is going to die. I mean, and a lack of better words, you're about to test the 2016 lows potentially if we can't hold this zone. And you're already at the 2020 lows, so it is weak. Yeah, that's all I have on ETH. More bearish than not, definitely can grind out a bottom closer to that 1.623 level. If we don't see that hold, Ethereum is cooked. I'm looking at potentially the lows to get ran one more time, closer to around 1,430. If you long this, you're looking for simply this low to hold. This isn't an altcoin though, so this very well could sweep this low, give us an SFP, and then bottom. So maybe I'll be wrong and ETH BTC does hit support, and then this does break the low here, taking out all the stops and then giving us an SFP long. This is more probable to short though, and you'll be gauging simply that 2-day EMA 9 to kind of guide your trade. Not the daily, 2-day. There's less chop with the 2-day, and the 2-day does respect the EMA 9 nicely. So that's kind of all I have on ETH, and we're now at it. So you'd be gauging this to kind of get lost, and then you can definitely formulate a short that way. Either you can short here and have your stop like there. target around this zone. So, yeah.
Very nice. I know you guys got to leave. Is that right?
Yes.
All righty. Well, go enjoy Dubai. Go enjoy the crypto conference. Ask CZ what's going to happen so that I can put all my money into that. Please.
Definitely. No, I will ask him. That was a
Definitely.
good reminder. So I will do that.
All right. Thank you. You boys enjoy yourselves out there and don't party too much. Well, please do. Just do it for me. I'll live through your eyes. Have a good one.
Buenos dias.
Just don't get an STD, please. Hasta luego.
Never STDs.
No STDs, thank you. Ok, estamos viendo Ethereum rápido en la diaria. Ethereum es un poco un desastre. Soy un desastre. No les voy a empezar a cantar tampoco. Ya es lo que está pasando por acá. Pueden ver que Ethereum ha estado respetando esta línea alcista todo este tiempo hasta que cayó ahora y está haciendo un retesteo potente de la misma. Ahora, el retesteo potente fue porque pueden ver cada que hay una caída, tienes esto, tienes la caída, básicamente. Estamos en un gráfico semanal. Lo podríamos considerar como esto fue. Podríamos. En realidad, lo que me gustaría ver fueran los 1884 tocados y ahí el rechazo, porque sería un corto bastante fácil, aunque por ahora es bastante fácil porque Ethereum no se ve bien. Pueden ver, está en una clara tendencia bajista, continúa esos escalones para abajo. Y si simplemente ponemos el gráfico de 2 días, que es lo que Alex está usando como un buen gauge para ver dónde está el precio, pueden ver, denle un segundo a algunos de estas, ahí está, a cargar. Pueden ver tu promedio del 9, está aquí abajo. Ahora, en la de 2 días es más fácil verlo y entender que el 9 fue perdido, SFPado, y de ahí ha estado simplemente rechazando. Aquí tuviste otro SFP y ahora esto podría ser otro SFP. ¿Eso qué quiere decir? Que uno, si no sabes lo que es eso, chingada madre. No es cierto. Si no sabes qué es eso, ahí tenemos videos en Elite Trading Academy. Estoy seguro que los han visto. Pero esto podría ser un SFP. Si se llega a dar y perdemos el promedio del 9 justamente aquí abajo en los 1734, muy probablemente vayamos a buscar nuevos mínimos en Ethereum. Así que vamos a estar pendiente de eso. ¿Quieres apostar a la larga? En long, esto sería un long fácil, pero no recomendado. Simplemente poner tu entrada o hasta tu salida por acá, literalmente, en los últimos, que no te lleves ninguno de estos bajos. Llevándote uno de estos bajos, vas una vez más a esta parte, vas a retestearla, probablemente hacer esto y continuar para abajo. Es lo que estamos viendo en Ethereum. Ethereum se ve muy bajista en todo tipo de temporalidad, no importa dónde lo veas. Si quieres ser alcista, quieres romper por encima del 21 en los 1806, después puedes romper esta resistencia en diagonal que viene de la línea meme y de ahí los 1967, básicamente los $2,000. Te va a costar trabajo y aquí tienes aparte un máximo que lo puedes usar para hacer corto si es que llegas a este punto en el precio con Ethereum. Pero por ahora tiene más cara de que va a continuar para abajo que quererse ir para arriba. Así que vamos a ver qué es lo que está pasando con Ethereum, porque qué caída tan potente. Los voy a llevar a Tesla. Tesla nos la dio Farhan hace un rato. Se las voy a poner toda, absolutamente toda en contexto en un segundo. Déjame encuentro mi ticker. Ahí está. Tesla. Qué puta locura. Este gráfico. Espérenme, ¿está cargado todo? No, todavía le faltan cosas. Ahí están los elementos. Ok, ¿qué es lo que estamos viendo en Tesla? Los voy a llevar a la semanal para que quitemos un poco de ruido en todo este gráfico. Ahí está. En la semanal habíamos tenido este tope y desde entonces habíamos caído. Parece que encontramos suelo en el área de los 215, en donde está esta línea meme. Ahora, lo interesante de este suelo en Tesla es, ¿y por qué pensamos que, bueno, por qué se ve alcista? Es porque tienes este bajo más alto y ahora estás por acá, básicamente intentando establecer un nuevo bajo más alto todavía. Pero, por supuesto, estás encontrándote con triple resistencia. No solamente tu promedio del 21 y el 34, pero también la línea meme, la resistencia meme. La cosa es, hablando de estructuras alcistas, ¿no? ya rompiste los altos de esta vela. Esto quiere decir que estás en una mini tendencia alcista dentro de este movimiento. ¿Ok? Y ahora vamos a analizarlo para atrás para ver qué exactamente nos puede dar un buen trade en Tesla. Podría ser un corto, podría ser un largo, porque también estás justamente en zona de soporte con el promedio del 9 semanal, que normalmente el promedio del 9 semanal debería de ser una excelente catapulta para arriba o para abajo. ¿Ok? 3 meses, la trimestral, estamos por encima del promedio del 9. Claro que sí, está en los 263, por lo que es una zona bastante importante para el precio de Tesla. De perder los 263, 263, muy probablemente vayamos a ver una corrección. Y no estoy diciendo nuevos mínimos, simplemente una corrección de precio. Ahora, en cuanto a volatilidad se refiere, estamos contrayendo por debajo del promedio, entonces no tenemos nada por ahí que reportar. Y Tesla continúa haciendo altos más altos y bajos más altos en todo esto. Lo que nosotros pensamos es que esta línea meme en diagonal debería aguantar todo el camino simplemente porque lo ha hecho todo el tiempo desde que lo venimos a testear acá, los famosos $100, los famosos $140. Y acá con el promedio del 34 podemos ver que está ahora en los $180 esta línea meme que viene por acá. Entonces, eso debería ser la línea en la arena para nosotros en Tesla, ¿ok? Eso es una. Vamos a la mensual. Mensual, rechazo el promedio del 9. Esto nos pone todavía un poco en alerta bajista. Definitivamente para poder flipear esta tendencia queremos romper esos 290. Básicamente lo que les había dicho, los $300. Porque si rompemos 300 ya entras en mi opinión, arriba de los 300 es donde encuentras ya una postura alcista con muchas bases. Y me habré sacado la lotería entonces acá comprando esto. Tristemente no metí todo mi dinero, solamente una tercera maldita parte, pero no me voy a emputar. Pero a mí me gustaría personalmente que sí regresara más para abajo y poder agregar más a mis posiciones. Si llega a los 334, yo no me voy a emocionar y voy a vender. Tesla tiene la habilidad de tener ese tipo de santos pompazos en mi posición, porque pienso que debería haber otro regreso mínimo a esta zona o más abajo y eso me dejaría agregar más acciones con el mismo, bueno, con la primera compra original. ¿Ok? Por ahora nos está rechazando el 9. Voy a prender el HPDR. Para la gente que no sepa, este indicador cuesta $800. No se los digo por mame. Mucha gente lo busca en TradingView y nos viene a platicar y dicen, güey, ¿cuáles son los settings del HPDR? No es el mismo. Hay un HPDR gratis en TradingView, pero esta madre cuesta $800. Ok. Tenemos la media. La media en esta mensual que cierra en 5 horas y 11 minutos está en $300. Justo, lo pueden ver acá en donde está la línea meme, ¿ok? De no poder pasar eso o nuestro promedio del 9 en los 290, deberíamos ser aguantados por los 265, pero si no, vamos a tener un objetivo de 250. Y esto vendría un poco en relación a lo que nosotros estamos viendo en una corrección a tiempo, a corto plazo. Podría ser entre 250 hasta el 61.8%, los 229 que nos pone cerca de mínimos, pero con un mínimo más alto de los últimos que hemos visto. No había visto esa línea. 2 semanas nos está rechazando el promedio del 9, nos está rechazando el 21 y estamos cayendo al 95. El 95 está en los 270. Vamos a ver cómo va a darse esta vela. Faltan 9 días y 6 horas todavía para cerrarla de 2 semanas porque no va junto con el mes. Y esto es algo de poner atención. ¿Por qué? Porque el HPDR ya estamos, vean, en la parte de abajo. Aunque a Tesla le gusta coquetear con estas partes por un rato y hasta el 100%, lo pueden ver, lo ha hecho antes en el 2022, no nos sorprendería. El 100% está justamente donde se encuentra mi línea meme diagonal, mi línea meme que viene acá, y además el promedio del 34 me parece que era en la mensual. Entonces, ese 100% en 180 es lo que personalmente yo sigo buscando, no diciendo que es garantía. Por ahora, la zona de retroceso es una vez que rompas los 269 para abajo, vas a poder ir a buscar los 250 o hasta los 233 y a ver si esto aguanta. De no aguantar, una vez más, mi postura sigue siendo la misma, por ahí de los 180. Es donde yo continuaría agregando 200 y 280. Semanal. Semanal estamos por encima del 51%, nos está rechazando el 50%, estamos entrando en la zona azul y eso de perder el promedio del 9 que está en 285 y estamos por debajo de él, nos debería llevar a la media y el promedio del 100 que están por ahí de los 250. También tenemos el S&P 200 por acá en los básicamente 250. De perder los 250, 233 se vuelven una realidad, 233 rápido podrían confirmarse en 219 y aquí va a ser el punto crítico de este pullback. Sea así o sea así, si vamos a crear un nuevo mínimo o no. Vamos a verlo acá y también básicamente la relación de estos dos. Déjenme ver en la semana si tenemos algo en volatilidad. Nada, contrayendo y los voy a llevar a la diaria. Diaria. Nos rechazó ya el 100 y el 200. Lo que para mí agrega eso, y aparte ve la parte tan alta en la que estás, lo que agrega confluencia a que deberíamos de poder ir a visitar la parte alta de la zona azul en los 238. Los 238 muy probablemente los perdamos y vayas a la media una vez más, 230. Y ahí te pones cerca de este juego, porque la parte baja de la zona azul está en 220. Pero recuerda, si ya caíste con fuerza acá hasta la zona azul, muy probablemente vas a ir mínimo al 61.8% y eso ya te da un nuevo mínimo. Aquí vamos a tener que mediar esto. Y déjenme, se los quito y se los pongo rápido en modo sencillo. 269, esta línea meme, debe de aguantar. De romperla, si pierdes los 250, tu primera llamada es esta. Tu segunda son los 250. Y de perder los 250 vas a estar en alerta para ver si te llevas este mínimo y si te lo llevas, ver si te llevas este otro. Una vez que lleguemos acá y tengas cualquier dashazo abajo de 214, te va a llevar a los 200. Ahí es donde está mi siguiente entradita. Estaría rica por acá. Y de ahí los 183, que es la parte baja del HPDR, como les había enseñado. Así que no está tan complicado, Tesla. Está bastante sencillo. Queremos ser alcistas, queremos romper los 300. 300 para arriba. Y si lo quieres ver en tu gráfico antes de los 300, hacerle el front run, tienes que llevarte el promedio del 100 y el 200 en la diaria en cierres arriba de ellos. Por ahora estás por debajo y esto es una postura bajista y lo mismo que nos enseña el HPDR. Así que ahí básicamente lo tienen. Y así que sin más ni más me quedo yo aquí. No quiero yo ponerles bias de mi análisis en nada. Prefiero que aprendan de Farhan y de Alex, porque yo tengo mis ideas muy pendejas y da igual. Yo no soy el maestro acá, son ellos. Pero hoy vamos a tener que cortarla temprano. Estoy pensando si debería hacer otro en vivo ahorita, porque tengo tiempo y no tengo nada más que hacer. Alejandro. Voy a pensarla. Les mando un fuerte abrazo. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Mañana tenemos clase de Elite Trading Academy para todos los miembros que son parte de ella. 7 de la mañana, hora de Los Ángeles. 8 de la mañana, Ciudad de México. 7, 8, 9, 10 de la mañana, hora de Nueva York, Cancún, para que sepan. Aquí los vamos a ver, como siempre. Obviamente es en privado, no es una clase pública. Y cualquier pregunta que tengan, estamos ahí. Vamos a contestar todas sus preguntas que tengan que ver con fundamentales. Ahora, si son parte de la academia, por favor, vean todos los videos de la librería. Si tienes una pregunta, güey, ¿cómo funcionan los EMAs? Hay ahí un video, ve el video. Si tienes una pregunta de, güey, vi el video, pero no entendí bien por qué esto, tíranosla, por favor. Simplemente no queremos ser redundantes y hacer perder el tiempo cuando tenemos una cola de gente que está preguntando cosas que no hay explicación en video. Si tenemos la explicación en video, te vamos a referir a ella, solamente para que lo sepan. Les mando un fuerte abrazo. Estemos al pendiente ante estos rebotes del gran Bitcoin. Vamos a ver dónde los da. Y básicamente ya. Les mando un fuerte abrazo. Cuídense mucho. Gracias por todo.